like a lot of football on your podcasts and other things on the tubes, then hold and give. We continue to not commit fully to the bit, which is somebody else's bit, so let me know for any alternatives in the comments down below. Have you got any alternatives we can open the podcast with?
No, I've just got the old Trio biscuit advert stuck in my head and trying to work hold and give into it, and it doesn't work.
Go on, give it a go. It'll work if you try hard enough.
Hold and give. Hold and give. I want some football and I want...
Hold and give.
Hold and give.
Hold and give.
Hold and give.
I want some football.
I want some football and I want some...
Did you know that Wayne Rooney, Gareth Bale and Kevin Davies of Bolton and Southampton and other teams' fame are the only three players to have scored, assisted and put through their own net in the same game? Start off well, ended on a sad note there for the three lads.
Well, I didn't before, but I do know that now.
It's incredible stat, isn't it? Goal, assist, and own goal.
I wonder, well, do we know what stage of Gareth Bale's career that was? Was he still in defence then, or was he the marauding winger?
There was a game for Tottenham where someone booted off his face and it went in his own goal. I'm going to assume it was that game. I hope it was that game because it's one of the greatest own goals in Premier League history. It's not like your lad, was it Virginie for Sunderland when he twatted it in against Southampton on the half volley from fully 18 yards in the bottom corner?
I can't remember that one.
14-15 season, Sunderland away at Southampton. Take away the Mackham aspect from my point of view. It's a fantastic own goal. It's a goal which if Alan Shearer slotted it in the bottom corner, I'd be away doing that.
The one that whenever I think of own goals, I think it was 95, 96. David Unsworth for Everton, I think against United, just because me and my cousin were on holiday in Butland because it was the 90s and we were... That's what you did in the 90s. You went to Butland. Yeah. We were in Petheli in the rain and we just kept saying all week, David Unsworth's going to score an own goal at the weekend. And he did. So now whenever I think of own goals, I think of David Unsworth. Whenever I think of David Unsworth, I think of own goals.
What a penalty he had, though, by the way, David Unsworth. He used to twat that ball with his left foot, didn't he? Made me sick.
Oh, it was like he owed him money. It was amazing.
How did his own goal go in, though? Can you remember the goal? Can Jack Atkins remember a thing? Can Jack Atkins remember a thing? No.
Peeling the curtain back a little bit, we've had to pre-record a special for next week where I do some of the worst forgetting of my career.
It's a Bobby Dazzler. The one you forget. That's amazing. You can't. As a Liverpool fan, you can't forget the name, but he went and forgot the name, didn't you?
Of course I did, yeah.
Fantastic.
But tell you what, I'm not forgetting. I'm not forgetting the seismic football moments that happened on this day in history, Ross. I'll tell you that.
Here we go. It's Clive. Oh, I can't say that on the podcast. To peel the curtain back, we had what was the game called at Christmas time at the Christmas party? I forget the name of the game.
It was a drawful.
It was something like where you have you play along on your phone in the room. You've got some sort of console hooked up to the TV, so everyone's playing on their phone via the television. Give yourself a team name. He called himself Clive Fuck. So on the document here, I've written down Clive Fuck's On This Day I Pee Freely is the name of the segment. A working title, I'd say. So
yeah, because. Because you were leathered at the back of the room on wine and you just kept saying that name over and over again in disbelief.
It's a great name, though. Imagine going to a bar and just saying, I'm Clive. You know what.
So, yeah, from the pen of Clive, you know what. We're recording this July 26th. So, in 1966, it was England versus Portugal in the World Cup. Semi-final in Wembley. Bobby Charlton scored 2. Eusebio scored 1. And we all know what happened next, don't we?
Bobby Charlton's was a thunder bastard, if I recall. That was that goal where he sort of just hits it from 30 yards out and he stanchions it, the old Wembley stanchions. I miss those Wembley goals. When they changed them in the 90s, that was sacrilege, that in my opinion. Even as a young boy, as a 3-year-old boy, I was like, oh, you can't be messing with tradition like this.
Threw down your flat cap in protest outside those old two towers.
Licked me nice big lump of coal. I thought it was me tea that night. Up the north.
Up the north. Talking about someone leaving the north, though, 1977, July 26th, Kevin Keegan made his debut for Hamburg. He had left Liverpool in June 1977 for £500,000, which was a transfer record for a UK player at the time. Hamburg, in a gorgeous pink number, went on to batter Barcelona 6-0 in a friendly. And while at Hamburg, Kevin Keegan would win the Ballon d'Or twice.
Is he still the only? Was it back to back? Is that right? Have I just made
back to back?
Is the only guy? Is he still the only guy to do it back to back? I assume Ronaldo or Messi must have got there as well at this point. I assume. I'm just talking nonsense now. I know nothing about football. This is a football podcast. What am I doing here?
And I'm someone who doesn't really put much stock in the Ballon d'Or anyway, so it is what it is.
Neither do I really. But let me. I had a tour of the Camp Nou last autumn. And seeing all of Messi's in the Barcelona Museum, it makes your knees go a bit weak, let me tell you. Just seeing them all lined up there in a row, each in their own individual clear perspex box, which you can stand next to and touch the box, not the Ballon d'Or. It makes your knees go weak.
It's an impressive-looking trophy, definitely. Of course, Michael Owen won one, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. Before he turned into a mercenary arsehole.
Yeah.
An injured little prick. A scoundrel of the game. I hate Michael Owen. A boring bastard. I hate Michael Owen so much.
The only good thing Michael Owen's done since leaving Liverpool was that video of him flying a helicopter.
What was he selling? I forget what he was selling. It's one of my few liked videos on YouTube. I think I've got like 3 liked videos. One's like a workout you should do every morning for 10 minutes because it'll make your life last longer, which I've never done once. And the other one's Michael Owen on this tour going, we're going to have to come into land now.
I think he's just trying to... It's something to do with Dubai. I don't know if he's trying to flog apartments to people or something like that. But he's in this helicopter. And he's like, hold on tight. I've got to switch on the afterburners now. Oh, there's former Ryder Cup captain Sam Torrance. Hello, Sam. It's brilliant. It's almost as good as the Man United wine advert, which is also fantastic.
Run me through that one again.
I'd never seen it until I joined the Cultaholic organisation. I think it was either you or it must have been Jack King showed it to me, and it's Evra, Giggs, and Wayne Rooney in like a box in Old Trafford in suits at night, and Rooney's like looking all pensive at a window, and he's like, "The boss says we've signed someone. He's a bit of a devil."
I found it. Here we go. Let's play the sound. We can't play the footage, otherwise we'll get completely whizzle-wazzled by YouTube gods. But here's the sounds anyway.
Hey, Sid. Have you heard the rumour?
What rumour, George?
So George and Sid are the janitors at Manchester United, just to set the scene. They're on the pitch at Old Trafford. No one's there. It's late at night. And now there's a fireball approaching the United Kingdom through the skies. Rooney is looking pensive, looking out of a window in a box at Old Trafford.
Guys, we have a problem.
Forget about Houston, we have a problem. Wayne Rooney completely undersells the magnitude of the situation by simply saying, guys, we have a problem, as a full-on meteor approaches Old Trafford.
The boss said that new devil is arriving.
Why does he do that? Let me ask you, as a Scouser, arriving. He wouldn't say that if he wasn't reading a script, I imagine.
Yeah, and Rooney's one of those. His accent is more like a kind of what I call a classic Scouse accent, like the Beatles. So he's not like a he's more like a So there you go.
Let me know in the comments down below if you're watching in Liverpool. Are you or an We continue with this dramatic scene. Giggs is on a sofa with a football because he's a footballer, you know, and Patrice Evra couldn't look more uncomfortable if he tried, sat on the arm of a chair.
Is he well known?
Famous throughout the world.
The fireball is approaching Old Trafford even
What did
quicker.
they say about him? They say he is a legend.
Goodness me. He's got a foot like a traction engine. He's exploded the goal at one end of Old Trafford. The ball is in the goal. Well, the meteor's in the goal. The goal is on fire. An explosion's happening. And we're about to find out who this legend is. Who do you think the legend is? Oh, you already know, don't you? You already know. That doesn't quite work as a question. Dennis Law. Dennis Irwin with his a white pair of briefs on. Just stood there like that. Let's find out who it is, everybody. Un nuevo diablo en el equipo. is the name or the thing that's next to a bottle of Casillero del Diablo Cabernet Sauvignon from Chile. The look that... Did you remember the look that Rooney does at the end after the goal explodes, where he's just like... And he looks up dramatically towards the camera.
It's amazing.
It's really, really good.
It's a tour de force, yeah.
Really, really good. Shame he let it down with his speaking work, we'll say, as I do each and every time on a video. So I empathise with Wayne Rooney there for once.
They say he is a legend. Talking of legends, one last on this day after he got sidetracked by great football acting skills. 2011 on this day, which is, I've forgotten the date, is it July 26th? Whatever.
It is, yes.
You know what it is, yeah. Chelsea completed the sign of Thibaut Courtois from Genk for around 8 million and then loaned him straight to Atletico Madrid, where he won La Liga, Copa del Rey, Europa League and the Super Cup.
Congratulations to him. Then he came back to Chelsea, usurped Petr Cech from his position. Then they had Petr Cech and Courtois for a season, didn't they? And then Cech went off to Arsenal and just wasn't as good as he once was.
I know, but the prime Petr Cech, though. Oh,
I know. Before the injury. We speak about this in a certain video coming to the channel next week, don't we, Jack Atkins?
Yeah, we do. But that's Clive Epps on this. Yeah.
On this day, I pee freely. That's what that segment was. Let us know what you would call the segment in the comments down below. Anyway, onto the football news of the past week. There was a video myself and Owen Mawson did on the channel a few days ago when the news broke. We broke down what was and still is and probably always will be a world record transfer bid, a world record sort of wage package, if you want, as Al Hilal offered €300 million, £259 million for Kylian Mbappé. The long-term Real Madrid target has been put up for sale for PSG because they basically don't want him to leave for free next summer. They want to recoup. Hey, L'Equipe. Oh, no, that's not them. What's the name of the magazine? Recoup. L'Equipe. Sounds nothing like recoup, does it, Ross, you tit? But they've sent him home from their pre-season tour of Japan. They don't want to lose him for free, so things are starting to happen now. PSG apparently thought that Kylian Mbappé had agreed a deal with Madrid to either leave this summer for a fee or next summer without a fee. But now Al Hilal are swooping in there with the £259 million offer, but also the €700 million a year wage. Let's break it down, everybody. It's €58.33 million a month. It's €13.3 million a week. It's €1.9 million a day. It's €79,900 an hour. It's €1,332 a minute. It's €22 a second. And the best thing about all of this is, Jarkins, it's all tax-free.
That's ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous.
I don't know what to say, but me and Owen did go a full 15 minutes speaking about this offer, which is we're sat here on Wednesday. We're just recording this before it goes live. The Mbappe camp have yet to respond to the offer. The only thing we've seen from Kylian Mbappe himself is him replying with a series of laughter faces on the Twitter as I try and pronounce this basketball player's name, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Tweeted, Al Hilal, you can take me. I look like Kylian Mbappe, which he does a bit, to be fair. So if he gets the position up front, I guess there'll be a bit of a size difference, maybe. I assume he's a big, tall boy, is Mr. Giannis Antetokounmpo. I can't even bother. Oh, it doesn't matter. Do you want to give it a go? His name?
Giannis Antetokounmpo. I just call him Giannis. I haven't watched NBA properly in years. I know of him, though. He's meant to be very good.
I heard the name. Yeah, I remember the name being a thing a year or two ago for some reason. I don't know why it was.
I think he just burst onto the scene.
Mika Richards of the NBA.
But going back to Mbappe rather than our new favourite basketball player, they are absurd figures. The fact that Mbappe, this reported $700 million a year, would be higher than Man United, Liverpool and Man City's wage structure for the year. Not combined, but just like individually for the top three biggest spending teams in the Premier League. It's ridiculous. Like, it seems that every week we're talking about Saudi Arabia. What a time to start a podcast for us, by the way. The close of the season, and as football's getting destroyed, at first, I thought, oh, this will be harmless. This will just be, some old fellas going for one last, bit of glory. But now they're going in. Mbappe, everything I've seen has kind of indicated that he's kind of been like, I don't care if it's 700 million. I don't want to do this because I'm very, very good and it's still a bit of a joke league. So I hope that his ambition comes before the paycheck because he's gonna make a ton of money. Anyway, old is he? 25?
25 in December, yeah. I was saying this to Ony the other day. Like, even if he goes on a free transfer next summer, we all know that when a player goes on a free transfer, because there is no transfer fee, that means that money, or a large chunk of that money that would have been the transfer fee, goes into their wage packet instead. There was always that rumour when Jack Colback signed for Newcastle, who's getting paid more than Johan Cabaye was on, just because he arrived on a free transfer. That's how free transfers work. But there is that chance, that lingering hope he does say no, because we have seen a few, like, what feels like watershed deals to the Saudi League. Like Milinkovic-Savic felt like one because he's 28. Ruben Neves felt like one because he's 26. This would be the biggest one they could possibly do because he is the best player in the world at the moment. But on the other side of the coin, if it's going to be just a 1-year contract for £700 million, I mean, I think I would, you know. if the option was there to earn 700 million for having a year off, essentially, and then go to Real Madrid at the end of it, I'd say yes, please, thank you. I'll have a year off in the sun. Why not?
The two things, I'm going to play devil's advocate here because, yeah, obviously, even if we were offered 700, if we were millionaires already and offered 700 million for a year's work, the two things that would put me off would be if I'm going to this unestablished league. Who knows, some half-arsed player who no one's ever heard of might wrap his studs around my knee and break me leg. And the other thing is, if he goes to Madrid next season, and if the Saudi League does take off like people think, he can still play at the top level for another 5-6 years and then get a stupid fee from Saudi Arabia. So I think an offer like this for someone like Mbappe will always be on the table. I just hope he doesn't take it.
Oh no, that's the hope that he just says no. But I think it opens up a wider issue for football, I think, because I think the governing bodies need to step in because the lack of legislation of their transfer dealings is now starting to become an issue because it's a bit hypocritical for us as English fans, you know, Premier League fans, to sit here and go, oh dear, a richer league is now taking the players we might want to see play in our league. Oh damn it, we've been doing that for 30 years. So on one hand, it's a bit hypocritical to say this, but the sheer levels of money they can offer in comparison to what teams over here who have to abide to financial fair play can offer. Because it's already bad enough that, you know, as a Newcastle fan, I've been on both sides of the coin over the past 2 or 3 years. The team that has no money watching the team who has money spending the money we can't spend, and now we have the money spending the money that other teams can't spend. It's already bad enough on that level. But when you throw in what the Saudis can do now in terms of what we can do as a league, I think there needs to be a global blanket put over the world of football where everybody at the top level has the same sort of financial fair play that can go by, because it's starting to become a worry.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything about, like with the MLS, I think you're only allowed, or you were at one point, was it per team, X amount of players brought in from, like the kind of statement players. I think it used to be three, maybe?
I don't know how many it is now, but it's still a rule. I saw Busquets is officially, and obviously Messi's into Miami's 2 or 3, whatever it is.
But obviously, you know, they can, as we see with Messi, they can throw the cash around, but at least there's still a somewhat balance in the squads and therefore in the league. It's not just going to be like we said before, football manager with the cheats on. I don't know. I don't trust the footballing authorities enough to actually do anything because they're barely fit for purpose as it is anyway. So, well, I don't know. And
there was the thing Owen kept mentioning the other day. He kept going like, oh, Saudi Arabia want a World Cup. And I was like, oh, I didn't know this was a thing. I just kept nodding along as if I knew what I was talking about, which is what I do all the time. But I just was like, yeah, it does make sense if FIFA want to get involved in a Saudi Arabian World Cup, because obviously you would assume that would mean more money for FIFA than if a World Cup took place anywhere else in the world, just because of the bottomless pit of money that whoever, well, the PIF, I guess, is the big body over there that they have compared to the rest of the FIFA and World Cup.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. Are you gonna watch any of the Saudi League?
No. There's no. I was saying this to only the other day. I was like, even when Messi and Ronaldo were out there pomp in La Liga, like the start of the 2010s and whatnot, I only still even then sat down, actually purposefully sat down to watch. Oh, it's on tonight. I'm going to sit down and watch it 2 or 3 times a season. If it was on and I was sat there having my tea on a Sunday night, Revista de la Liga comes on the television. That lad, I forgot his name now. David Garrido's there presenting. I was like, oh yeah, we'll stick it on and watch it because it's on and I'm sat down. But in terms of sitting down and watch, I can't. There's no intrigue for me at all. Because obviously it's either players who are, over the hill and past it largely, or it's just. I can't think of a reason to sit down and watch it. It's going to have to take a Newcastle player close to my heart to go there. And even so, even if he does, Mr. Maximan, I've just thought there, who is going to go there, I still don't think I'll sit down and watch him, even though I love the guy. I can't think of any sort of situation where the Saudi League will make me sit down and watch unless something else happens compared to what's been happening over the last little while.
What if they did something mad, bring Tino Asprilla out of retirement?
That's where we're talking. That's where the money is. A Masters League. Do you remember Masters Football on Sky Sports?
Yeah.
If the Saudis did that and brought the Masters League back in the little blue pitch inside an arena somewhere, that's where it's at. I remember going there as a kid, being 8 years old or something like that, and everyone was going, killer, 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 towards Brian Kilcline. I had no idea who he was at that age, but I was impressed because he looked like a wrestler with his big bushy beard and his big long hair, and the fact that everyone was going, killer, 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 towards him. That's what you want from football, isn't it? Get the Masters League in Saudi. That's what we need to do.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, considering that all the old Premier League players are out there in management positions now. They all going over there for a game of golf and stuff, don't they? So, yeah, Masters League. Let's do it. Let's submit a written proposal to turn the Saudi League into the Masters League with homegrown players too.
There's a minimum age of 39 that you have to be. Anyone younger than 39, not interested.
Jason McAtee is going to go over and just absolutely tear it up.
Was it him and Michael Owen who had a fight in one fairly recently? In the last 10 years or so, there was some sort of Masters game where I'm sure it was McAtee and Michael Owen.
McAtee and someone. I don't know. It was definitely McAtee.
Which sort of scouse is he? Is he a or an
He's an A.
Oh, in the middle?
Yeah.
A new brand. There's 3 different ones. There's an an and an
Yeah. Former Tranmere Rovers legend Jason McAtee, that is, yeah.
Mackham bastard. Right, we'll move on because there was a big game overnight. Manchester United goalkeeper punctures the lung of Wrexham's Paul Mullen during a friendly game. An inexperienced Manchester United side, it should be said, lost 3-1 to Wrexham in that friendly. Mullen has suffered. He was substituted early on. I thought it was quite late in the game, but it wasn't. It was quite early on, apparently, with that punctured lung. The Red Devils were later reduced to 10 men in the fiery encounter when Man United midfielder Dan Gore was sent. What a great name for a midfielder. Go! The wrestling thing's coming again. Set off for a dangerous challenge on Wrexham's Andy Cannon. Eric Ten Hag insisted...
Cannon? Hang on, Andy Cannon as well. That's amazing.
That's like the Pro Evolution Soccer name for Andy Carroll, isn't it? Up front for Newcastle, number 9, Andy Cannon. Eric Ten Hag insisted prior to Saturday's win against Arsenal that his teams do not play friendly games, and that ominous warning came back to bite his side on the arse during Tuesday's loss. Wrexham's manager, Phil Parkinson, was fuming after the game. He says, "I'm fuming about the challenge on Paul Mullen. I've got to be honest with you. It was a clumsy, reckless challenge in a pre-season game, and I'm not happy with it at all. I've seen the goalie, and he's probably best steering clear of us for the time being because we're not very happy. I reckon he could take down Ryan Reynolds, but that Rob McElhenney with his muscles, I don't think he could."
Yeah, I'd seen that Parkinson looked like he wanted to batter this goalkeeper.
He was redder than Fergie's nose used to be back in the day.
Yeah, he really was. I mean, it's a bad injury for anyone, but for Wrexham to lose Paul Mullen, it's really, you couldn't think of a worse player for them to lose, really, could you?
Nah. That is just like Kylian Mbappé leaving Paris Saint-Germain.
Yeah, true, yeah.
What are you going to say?
But I was going to say beforehand that fair play on Man United for playing the kids, because when Chelsea played Wrexham the other day, they put out a full-strength squad.
To be fair, though, that was still quite kid-heavy, if that makes any sense to them, because they have sold that many players. There was only Gallagher, the new lad up front, Miss Jackson. Chalobah was there as well.
Miss Jackson
from Villarreal. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Woo!
But getting back to it, It was a clumsy challenge.
It's not as bad as Phil
can't-
Parkinson was making out, though, I've got to say. It was late and
definitely.
clumsy, but I think Mullen's been very unlucky to have suffered the injury he suffered, because you see that happen, not every game, but you see it a fair few times this season, where the keeper just sort of runs out and shoulder barges the striker who nicks the ball past him.
Yeah, I've seen. I saw a statement from the keeper in question, whose name obviously escapes me and I didn't write down. But he basically said that, he didn't mean anything by it. He's tried reaching out to Paul Mullen to say sorry and all that kind of stuff. But obviously hasn't heard back from the Wrexham camp because, like Phil Parkinson said there, he wants to rip his teeth out. But just clumsy at the end of the day.
I believe the goalkeeper's name was Dave Batista. That's the size of the guy.
Yes, it was.
Great spear on the man. Fellow Manchester United news saw their kit launch happen this week. They saw Arsenal's horrible new away kit and said, "Hold me Glazers," as they released an even worse one there. It was there's a reason for it looking so horrible. I'm sure you've seen it, Jack, with the stripy number, the green and the slightly smaller stripe, and then the stripe within the stripe. Doesn't look very nice at all. The Red Devils changed strips at the start of the 20th century to feature stripes with various colours, while green and gold and blue and white combinations proved popular on away kits in the 1990s. It's still crap though, even with that reasoning. Adidas are having a bit of a mare this summer.
Yeah, that United one, it looks like a fake kit. There's something about it just doesn't look real. It looks a bit knockoff. It's like someone tried printing a Juventus kit and ran out of black ink. As for the Arsenal one, on first impressions, I didn't mind it. But then I looked closer and I saw the blue in there and the contrasting bits, and that it wasn't a yellow, it was more of a kind of piss green. I was like, okay, maybe it's not great. I do think the Arsenal one will become a cult favourite in years, though.
Oh, yeah, that's how it always works. You win a few games in that kit and it becomes... It's like us with the Brazil one a few years ago. Johan Cabai, that sort of stuff. Where literally like a Brazil, white socks, blue shorts, yellow top. It wasn't very nice, but it was bloody... We won a few games in it.
I know the one you mean, yeah.
Iconic. Yeah. And then you got the Bananarama one for Newcastle as well. You got any Liverpool ones that were horrible but also cult classics?
Oh, I think it's the 98-99 one, which bright yellow one. I can just see Michael Owen in it. That's a cult classic as well. I don't know if it was well regarded at the time. I remember my cousin getting it on his birthday because it came out at the same time. We've had some crap away kits for a few years now, apart from last season's one, which was the cream one, which was lovely.
Yeah.
But we just a grey one or a green one, and we're happy. Just don't fart around with it. Don't go too jazzy. Just give us something nice. But at least it's not, Arsenal's piss green or United's knockoff stripes.
Knockoff stripes. But Adidas have pulled it round this week because I don't know if anyone's seen this one, but Roma's new away kit, the cream number. Oh, there's a bit of a textured pattern on there. There's no sponsor, which is always a plus for a football kit. It's just bloody lovely.
Yeah, you sent this to me, and it is nice. Roma is one of those teams as well with the home kits. Because of that shade of burgundy, there's something about it. They just always look nice. But this away kit, really nice. Classy, understated.
I remember, was it a few years ago when they had like their own in-house sponsor for a kit like manufacturer? It wasn't even like a proper manufacturer, but even then their kits looked nice.
Yeah.
I forget what they were actually called it. I can picture the badge, but I can't think of what it was. Anyway, Roma kits look nice. There's some big breaking news on the podcast today. Fulham this week have rejected a £50 million bid from West Ham for João Palhinha, who suffered what is apparently a dislocated shoulder during a pre-season game against Brentford a couple of days ago, which looks like any move for him this summer probably can't happen now because of your medicals and whatnot. But then again, you listen to podcasts like Under the Cosh, and then it appears the football medicals, at least in the Football League, aren't even a thing really, so maybe it's different in the Premier League, who knows, but you would assume he can't now pass a medical, which means any move from Fulham will not happen, which is good news for Fulham because he's a very good player.
He's a very good player. 50 million seems, I was going to say it seems high, but the prices are all over the shop for like the last 10 months, haven't they, really? If he did go to West Ham, that'd be a hell of a signing for them, but fair play to Fulham for sticking to the guns. But like you said, dislocated shoulder. It's one of those weird ones where he could be out for not long at all, or he could be out for absolutely ages. Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see. And
I guess with West Ham as well, the thing you got to worry about if you're a fan of them is the West Ham tax that I assume is going to be on all transfer deals now this summer, now that everybody knows they've got 115 million schmackers in their bank account.
That's probably why Fulham have done it. They're just like, we could probably rinse these for at least a good 65 mil here.
Add a 10 million fee on, why the hell not? Sticking with Fulham, Alexander Mitrovic went on strike basically this week because Tony Khan was like, we want £7,100,000 for you, young boy. You're not going anywhere near Saudi Arabia. And he was like, family members, I'm not having that. I'm staying home. Bollocks to you, Tony Khan. But now Al Hilal, it looks like they're going to make their third bid for the 28-year-old of around about £50 million. In more seriousness, I think it was about £52 million Tony Khan slapped on Mitrovic's head. Not literally. Imagine doing that. He wouldn't live to tell the tale, would he? In his place, Fulham have already replaced Mitrovic, even though he hasn't officially left the club as we're sat here right now, with Wolves' Raul Jimenez for $5.5 million. 32 years old, obviously bags of Premier League experience. Jack Atkins with a stats here, 57 in 166 for Wolves across 5 seasons. But I've got to say, it remains to be seen if he's the same player who got those goals after the horrible head injury that he got. Obviously, he's a swashbuckling centre forward, I guess we'll say. Or he was before his injury, because obviously now has to wear the headgear. There's always going to be that trepidation, I assume, if you go through something like that and it comes to heading a football, which you have to do multiple times a game, the way he plays the game, if he's going to be the same player, because last season he got no goals in 15 appearances in the Premier League. So it's a bit of a... If you look at the deal like a couple of years ago, it's like, oh yeah, it's a very good shrewd signing by Fulham. That, a bit of a stopgap until they maybe find like a younger model to fill Mitrovic's boots. But now with that injury there just lingering, it remains to be seen.
Yeah, like you were saying, as a stopgap or as a backup striker, especially for $5 million, you'd say it's worth a punt. I didn't realise he was as old as he was as well. He's one of those players that, 166 appearances across 5 seasons for Wolves. It feels like he's been around for longer than that. As for Mitrovic, if I were Fulham, I would take the 50 million, because when he's on, he's incredible, but he's such a patchy player. He's just all over the place, isn't he? And 50 million, I'd probably get him someone decent from, I don't know, the Dutch league or something that we've only heard of once or twice. He'll come over and be an absolute revelation. Who knows?
Jan Vennegoor of Hesselink. It's got to happen. Klaus-Jan Huntelaar. That's what I'm talking about.
I loved Klaus-Jan Huntelaar. I
remember we played Heerenveen in the UEFA Cup in like 2004-05 season, I think it would have been, and I was terrified of him. We beat them, but I was terrified of him.
He was one of those players that every time there was a transfer window, I'd just say to my mates, be like, hey, tell you what, do you know who we should buy? Right there. He'll solve everything for us. Never happened.
Afonso Alves as well. Let's throw his name in the mix as well. Not Alfonso. Afonso. I used to do my head in that. That must be a mistake on the birth certificate, surely. Afonso?
Well, I mean, we can't comment with such, hard to pronounce exotic names like Ross and Jack, can we? So,
Anyway, Newcastle have signed Harvey Barnes this week as well, as Alan St-Maximin looks set to go. Well, he is in Saudi Arabia for his medical with Al Ali. Barnes signs for £38 million on a 5-year contract, so I reckon if Newcastle can get at least 30 of that back for Alan St-Maximin, that would represent good business, because at the end of the day, Alan St-Maximin is not a player who works in Eddie Howe's system. I saw a journalist this week saying Maximan's a guy who works well for a bad manager but doesn't work well for a good manager. He had the bad manager who just said, either you play up past the halfway line and we'll kick the ball to your bacon. Oh. And then we had a good manager who was like, we need you to track back now there, Alan St-Maximin, and we need you to have different phases of play and, take up positions and whatnot, and it didn't quite work.
No. Like you said as well, if it would essentially be a swap and 8 million-ish, for Harvey Barnes, Harvey Barnes would probably run through brick walls for
Eddie Howe.
Eddie Howe. I still had Phil Parkinson on the brain. I was like, it's not Phil Parkinson. I think it's a good move all round. It's what you want from a transfer. If you can see one player and be like, how can we upgrade on that player? Yeah, I don't. How do you feel about it? Because obviously Alan's a cult figure and will go down as a cult figure for years to come at Newcastle, but how do you feel?
If I'm sitting here before Eddie Howe arrived at Newcastle, I'm like, oh my God, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to my football club. But now actually going to games again and looking at how Eddie Howe's team sets up and just how Maximin he's not that guy. He's a wonderfully talented footballer. He's the reason you go to a football game. He's an entertainer. A guy who gets you out your seat. He's worth the admission fee, all those sort of stuff. But in terms of like a team who wants to have an identity and have a pattern of play and push from the front and never stop running, he's not that guy at all. So to move him on is fair enough. And again, end product is another thing well Alan Saint-Maximin. Last season, it was blighted by injury season last season, but he still scored less than Dan Burn got in all competitions, while Harvey Barnes got 13 or 14 goals in the Premier League, whatever it was. So end product, it's night and day. It's a transfer. By the way, the fact that Premier League have asked to interfere in this transfer, just to say, like, oh, this doesn't look quite nice, while Nottingham Forest are doing all their business with their other club, Olympiacos, and other things like that. I'm sure there's endless examples of it happening. What? Why pick on us, eh? I want you to it's a rhetorical question, but why pick on us when multiple teams around the world are doing the same thing?
Yeah, I have felt a bit sorry for Newcastle for that, because as soon as that takeover was confirmed, you were put under the microscope for, obvious reasons, but a little, I'm not even going to say too much scrutiny. It's the fact that that other teams aren't held to the same amount of bollocks that you are.
Yeah, the Nottingham Forest one's the big one in the Premier League. They literally just swap players with Olympiacos because their owner owns Olympiacos as well. It's disgusting. I mean, I can see why. The reasons are obvious. I'm being a bit silly with this one, but it's just the fact that nothing's been said before. And the first time Newcastle do any sort of dealings with Saudi Arabia, well, you'd have to say, by the way, they're getting, I think 30 million, if that's what he's going for, is far fair market value for Alan Saint-Maximin, surely. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, if he was going for like 85 million, I'd be like, let's have a word here. But like you said, the market is completely skewed at the moment. So yeah, 30 million to anywhere for Maximin seems fair. But it just happens to be that he's going to Saudi Arabia and everyone's got the knickers in it.
Was it Koulibaly who went for like 60 million this summer for 30? Well, he was like 32 years old. Have I just made that up at the top of my head?
He's definitely got.
Oh no, 17 million. I do apologise. He must have got signed for 60-odd million last summer.
Yeah.
That's that argument out the window. Anyway, we'll move on before I make even more of a tit of myself. Aston Villa have completed the signing of winger Moussa Diaby from Bayer Leverkusen for a club record fee of over £50 million. Saudi Arabian giants, this news article said, Al Nassr, the one that Ronaldo plays for, were also interested in Diaby and ended it with a little bit of a bidding war with Villa, but the 24-year-old declined a move to the Middle East in favour of linking up with Unai Emery at Villa Park. He's their third signing of the summer, following Yuri Tielemans on a free and centre-back Pau Torres from Villarreal. And now this is a guy who's been linked with Newcastle for, well, basically ever since the takeover happened. He got linked with Arsenal as well, so he's clearly got something about him. That's all I know about him. Never seen him play. Not going to pretend I've seen him play. He's a winger. He's got pace and tricks. I assume it's a good signing for Aston Villa.
Yeah, I can assume as much. Like, if he's coming from Leverkusen, 50 million, you hear those and you think, oh, well, he can't just be some complete knobhead, can he? Villa have really been going for it in this transfer window. If everything clicks like it did at the end of last season, I think they'll be minimum pushing top six.
Yeah, I think it will as well. Emery's a good manager. I think Emery's one of those managers who might be... He's obviously... The job at Arsenal might have been a bit too big. He might be one of those managers, but a club like Villa, where they're sort of fighting from underneath in terms of like the top six, that sort of suits him down to the ground, doesn't it? And that's where he should be. Yeah,
and he seems like he's got some harmony in that dressing room as well. So, like you're saying here, if Diaby wanted to work with Emery, if that was one of the things that brought him over, then yeah, banging.
Because we played them the other day in a pre-season friendly, found ourselves 2-0 down in 13 minutes, ended 3-3 in the end. It was a lovely game to watch, but because Newcastle were playing a back three, because Newcastle's got Villa on the opening day of the season, so I think Eddie Howe was trying to, throw them a red herring by playing three at the back, and it just didn't work. It was really bad. They cut us up like a turkey on Christmas morning. But they are a very good team. We got ripped to shreds by them last season, like sort of springtime at Villa Park. We got beat 3-0. It was disgusting. How did Liverpool fare against them last season? Post Gerrard? You can't remember. You should be able to remember.
I want to say a draw.
Oh yes, it was at Anfield. I predicted that one. That's why I remember that one. I think it's one of the only predictions I got right towards the end of last season.
But I mean, I still thought that when Gerrard was taking over, I thought, oh, they're going to go absolutely flying. But no, it was Unai Emery that got them ticking into the team that they arguably should have been anyway. But as you were saying about pre-season, though, that's what pre-season's for. It's for dicking around with formations and seeing what works and puncturing Paul Mullen's lung. That's what pre-season's for.
Have you seen this Premier League series in America at the minute? There's been bare goals. Bare goals. Let me find the stats while you talk about... Do you want to talk about the weather or something?
Yeah, it's, we had a bit of sun this morning here and then it's raining again. Yeah.
Right.
Go on.
Oh, what were you
I was going to say the only bit of pre-season I've seen so far is Liverpool's game the other day. I caught the second half of it, and Darwin Núñez was just romping about having the time he was like.
You're against the German second division side. You can't have that one.
I know, of course. It's like I said, it's pre-season at the end of the day, but I just like seeing him. It's like seeing a horse on the field. It's amazing.
Is that the one where it ended like 4-4 against the German second division side?
Yeah.
Crap. Anyway, Premier League Summer Series over in America started off with Chelsea 4, Brighton 3. Then we had Fulham 3, Brentford 2, Newcastle 3, Aston Villa 3.
Plymouth Argyle 1.
4-4-5, East 5-4. East 5-4, 4-4-5. The second round of games is today, by the way, just in case you are in America. Brentford will take on Brighton. Fulham will take on Aston Villa tomorrow. So Brentford's today, Fulham's tomorrow. Then Newcastle versus Chelsea tomorrow at 1:15 a.m. I will not be there. Oh, I will be there. I might be there. I'm at a wedding. I'll be drunk watching. I'll be drunk tomorrow. Here we go. I'll be there watching it 1:15 a.m. in my wedding suit. Got a grey number this time, Jack Atkins. Do you want to see me tie? I'm matching with my grey suit.
Let me have a look.
I got it off Amazon for £9. It came with a tie clip, cufflinks, and a pocket square for £9. Look at this with a grey suit. Whoa!
Oh yes.
It looks a lot more expensive than £9, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, the Amazon.
Is it a matching pocket square?
Yeah, there's your pocket square. There's your cufflinks and tie clip. What a bargain for £9.
I tell you what, after this wedding's done, I think you should become one of those guys who carries a hanky and just use that pocket square and just start dabbing yourself, make that your thing.
I could do with some of that. I'm such a sweaty man these days, it's disgusting. Anyway, speaking of sweaty men, a German reporter brought a Bayern Munich shirt with Harry Kane's name on the back to Ange Postecoglou's press conference the other day, and Big Ange, which I assume is what the Spurs fans are calling him right now, was not happy about it. Obviously, Bayern Munich have seen 2 bids rejected so far this summer for Harry Kane. Tottenham want to keep him with the risk of losing him on a free next summer. And said to the reporter, who held up the shirt before the conference began, then sat down with it sort of next to him, I think it was where it was. Did you get a good laugh there? You've come a long way for that. Thank you very much, he said. He seems like a man I would not want to piss off.
Yeah, I hate this kind of journalism as well. I've banged on in my private life before about journalists who try to make themselves the story rather than what the actual story is. And it's just, what was he expecting was going to happen? Was he expecting Andrew was going to say, "You're fantastic, come on, join our press team, we'll make you the head"? In fact, no, I'll get a call into Real Madrid. No, FIFA, I'll make you the head of FIFA. Hit.
Rumours have it the German report now has a Netflix comedy special coming out in about 3 months' time.
Oh, okay.
Not really. I don't know what's happening to him. He's probably been sacked.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Will he go, though, do you reckon? It's still rumbling on.
I think so. I've seen a lot more. I know it's United fans are trying to push that button again and being like, come on, sign, bring Kane in. I think if United were actually thinking about bringing Kane in, they wouldn't have given Bruno Fernandes the captaincy. So if he does move, Bayern Munich just makes sense. And then Shearer's record will be intact and you can sleep soundly once more.
Yeah, it does mean it means a lot to me, that record. It really does. Until we win something, that's all we've got. Anyway, Chelsea confirmed the departure of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang to Marseille on a free transfer. He leaves Chelsea after just one season. He joined towards the end of the summer 2022 transfer window, where he thought he was reuniting with his former Borussia Dortmund manager Thomas Tuchel, but the German was sacked a few days after his arrival. 21 appearances he managed in all competitions for Chelsea, and he scored 3 goals All of which came within the space of 10 days of each other, back in October. So at the end of October, you're probably thinking, oh yeah, pretty good signing there for Chelsea. Then he did nothing else.
Yeah, he's been one of the most underwhelming arrivals to the Premier League.
Oh, that's harsh.
I know.
His first couple of years at Arsenal, he was the dog's bollocks.
Yeah, but considering what we'd seen before from him, I was expecting him to still be going. Obviously, it's all players drop off, but I was expecting, the absolute fireworks of Aubameyang. But yeah, 34, one of them.
Mikel Arteta justified, though, after that Amazon documentary. Got him out the club, didn't like his chutzpah, his mantra, his way of life. Or something like that.
You made Mikel Arteta sound like a Lion King character then as well.
Hakuna Matata. Get out, you bitch. Don't want you around here. But yeah, he got rid of him because he was a bit of a flash Charlie, one of those ones. But he's been proven right because he's not gone out to do anything since leaving Arsenal. I think Arsenal got a pretty penny, didn't they, from Chelsea for his signature? I assume.
I imagine so, yeah.
Oh no, because he was at Barcelona, wasn't he? I'm talking nonsense again, Atkins.
Oh crap! Yeah, and then everything with the finances came because didn't he want to stay? And they were just like, "Can you kind of pay us to play here?" And
yeah.
Like, no. Yeah.
I can't remember how much Barcelona paid for him now, but I assume it was a nice.
Age is a bastard, isn't it, Ross? Age is a bastard.
I'm 31 next week. It's a slippery slope that keeps getting slippier. Who's not 31 years old, as I try to look for a segue for every news story, is Lavia from Southampton. Liverpool have had their first offer rejected by Southampton for the midfield stalwart for £35 million plus add-ons, but a fresh bid was made today, according to our Lord and Saviour, Fabrizio Romano, who tweeted to understand Liverpool new formal bid for Romeo Lavia is almost ready, around 42.5 million guaranteed fee plus 2.5 million add-ons up to a 45 million package. Now, obviously, we haven't seen too much of him as football fans who don't support Southampton and watch Southampton every week. But I've got to say, when he came to St James's Park, which was Atlantic go off, he was a head and shoulder above the rest of that Southampton team.
Yeah, obviously he's young. He's not had a great amount of experience, but enough experience at the end of the day. You'd think 42 to 45 million seems a bit high, but like we said, inflated market, he's young, and I think either next season or the season after, when he gets to a certain age, he'd be registered as a homegrown player because he's done so much of his training, and Liverpool were dying out for homegrown players, so I think that's part of it. We've been linked with him all summer. It'd gone quiet for a couple of weeks, but now it's ramping up again, so yeah, I'd like to see him as an understudy, but we don't know what's happening with our DM situation, so which we'll come on to in a minute.
Well, yeah, one's gone, one could be going, but Lavia, I've just looked at his birthday here, the 6th of January 2004.
He's younger than my niece and nephew.
I had pubes then. My pubic area is older. Well, not just the pubic area, but my doesn't matter. Shut up, Ross. He's young. That's all we're saying here. Our own mortality is becoming harder to grasp every single day. Anyway, the organisation behind the Premier League's Rainbow Laces campaign, Stonewall, have issued a statement ahead of Jordan Henderson's proposed move to the Saudi Pro League. It's not even proposed anymore. He's already training with them, isn't he? Al-Eti, you know what. The 33-year-old is reuniting with Steven Gerrard at Al-Eti, you know what, after a deal was agreed with Liverpool for that long-serving captain, as he could earn close to £100,000 a day in wages, inclusive of bonuses he could earn while he's out there. £100,000 a day.
A day?
According to 90-Minute Football, who are quite a reputable source with Graham Bailey and people like that, £100,000 a day.
Oh yeah, because it was 700-ish a week was being banded around, wasn't it? I've also heard 350, but tax-free at the end of the day. A lot of money, anyway.
A lot of money. Henderson's proposed switch has generated a huge interest because of his vocal support for the LGBTQ plus community. In the past, obviously, homosexuality is punishable by death in Saudi Arabia, which is where he's going to play his football, as it violates the country's laws. But somebody has Robbie DeSantos has spoken out about this. He is who the hell was he? The Director of External Affairs for Stonewall. He said, "We are grateful to Jordan Henderson for using his platform to stand up for LGBTQ plus inclusion in sports and fitness, including by wearing our rainbow laces. In the 10 years since our campaign started, public attitudes towards LGBTQ plus people in sport have improved considerably, and it's all thanks in small part to bold allyship from athletes such as Henderson. I guess the main sort of sentiment there is a nice way to look at it, that he could go there and sort of start to change things in the way that's, you know what I mean. It's going to be a really hard position for Henderson to be in, is all I'm thinking.
Yeah. Because if Saudi Arabia want to, you know, all this talks of sports washing across all different types of sports, if they're trying to present this new image of the country, they're trying to present themselves as a kind of more modernized country, then we are going to need to see people trying to change attitudes. I know some attitudes have changed around there with regards to like women's rights and stuff like that, but still a long way to go. I was talking to someone about this the other day, and they were saying that Henderson could speak up about it. It could end up being a positive thing to have someone over there willing to, you know, be a kind of vocal, or at least a presence for Stonewall and all these other LGBTQ plus charities and organizations. But it's a tough situation for Jordan Henderson to be in as he sleeps on his pile of money. But yeah, we've gone over it in previous episodes. It's just a bastard.
Yeah, I'd love for it to be obviously when the Rainbow Laces campaign sort of has its time every single season where the players put them on, the corner flags are all changed and whatnot over here in the Premier League. If he was to do something similar in the Saudi League, hopefully he can do something like that. But then again, it's the law over there, isn't it? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's, as we say, it's a really tough situation to be in for him. Hopefully he can do something like that, and that's just Stonewall sort of trying to make the best of a horrible situation for them with the statements that Henderson's made quite publicly in the past.
Yeah, if he is able to do anything like that to reiterate his support for these causes, then, you know, I'll take back some of the stuff I've said about this transfer. I mean, if he's made his bed, he's got to kind of sleep in it, if you know what I mean. So, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know if you finished your sentence there. Anyway, more Liverpool to Saudi Arabia transfer news potentially here, because Fabinho, when I was in Benidorm, he had agreed to move to Saudi Arabia, but now it was Al Ittihad he'd agreed his move to. But apparently there was an issue relating to the payment structure of Al Ittihad's offer. The Brazilian is now expected to return to Liverpool training until the situation is resolved. The 29-year-old's got 3 years left on his Anfield contract and was previously given permission to undergo a medical with the Saudi champions and join up with the likes of Benzema, Kante and Nuno Espirito Santo. There was rumours that his dog was illegal in Saudi Arabia. Now, you've got your ear to the ground in that city. Tell me more about this situation.
What, my ear to the ground in Saudi Arabia?
In the People's Republic of Liverpool, where Frenchies are allowed.
Yeah. Apparently, I think it's been kind of shot down that he's got French bulldogs and they are banned in Saudi Arabia outright. I don't know if it's a blanket ban on all kinds of bulldogs, right? Because obviously, if you've ever met a Frenchie, they're soft as bollocks, aren't they?
Yeah.
But they're banned for being dangerous animals. So I assume it's just kind of like squat dogs, like bulldogs and pit bulls in general, kind of thing. But if I wouldn't, as much as, you know, 40 million for a 29-year-old. Fabinho, whose legs looked like they'd gone last season, was nice, and obviously Liverpool have signed off on it. All parties have agreed to it. It's just trying to get that last few hurdles. If we do get Lavia, and even if we keep Fabinho for another season, I'd kind of be in favour of that, because he showed that when he had a bit of a rest last season, when he was dropped in favour of Stefan Bajcetic, give him a bit of a rest, let him kind of, you know, heal up and get his engines going again, and he could still play.
Yeah,
obviously wasn't the Fabinho of 3 seasons ago where he was an absolute destroyer. But if we could keep him for another season and bed in Lavia if that deal goes through, and continue Bajcetic if we're going to keep trying to play him in the 6, I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, 40 million would also be great. So
because you could go get somebody else, a younger model, couldn't you, for that sort of money? Surely.
Exactly. I think it's a win-win for Liverpool. There was rumours in the week that when this deal to Al Ittihad started going on shaky ground, there was rumours that Bayern Munich were just like, we'll have him. And we were just like, All right, okay. Let's see how this all pans out then.
Yeah, Bayern Munich with them. They love an experienced Premier League player, don't they?
Oh, they love it, yeah. Anyone else, they should be like, oh, 29, he's a bit old. The German league is just like, oh, no, he's in his prime, bring him in.
Man United news once again now because they complete the sign of Andre Onana this week for around £47.2 million on a 5-year deal from Inter Milan, and he's chosen to wear the number 24 shirt. He was expected to be handed the number 1 shirt because obviously David De Gea left the club at the end of the season there in a horrible way, a horrible, disrespectful way to treat a club legend such as David De Gea. But Onana instead has taken the 24 shirt that he's worn at Ajax and at Inter. Onana is the first Red Devils player to take the number 24 shirt since Timothy Fosu-Mensah, who left the club to play for Bayer Leverkusen in 2021. I think Wesley Brown wore the 24 shirt for a number of years before he switched to a 6. And I also believe that Darren Fletcher loved the 24 shirt for all of his time at Old Trafford.
It's the famous Man United 24. They always go on about the famous number 7. No, sir, it's the famous 24.
It is the famous 24.
I'm surprised it's taken this long to finally complete the deal because it's been rumbling on for weeks now, hasn't it?
That's how Man United do business, though, isn't it? They take ages to get stuff done. Ages.
That's true, yeah.
Everything's protracted. They love a protractor, don't they? That's how protractors work. What am I talking about? Get your protractor out.
They love a set square and they love the half a circle one.
Aye. And a ruler.
Yeah, a ruler, yeah.
Eric Ten Hag loves a ruler. I don't know why. Man United have also confirmed that Bruno Fernandes is the new club captain at the end of the season. Obviously, Harry Maguire was stripped of the captain's armband last weekend after falling down the pecking order under Eric Ten Hag. Just 8 Premier League appearances last season for Harry Maguire. But the Portugal international, this is Bruno Fernandes, was basically the on-field captain last season. He was the captain in the Carabao Cup final, the captain in the FA Cup final. He was the on-field captain while Harry Maguire sat on the bench. I hate Bruno Fernandes.
I hate Bruno Fernandes. He's a little rat, isn't he? I'm surprised they've made him captain because he gives me the impression he's one of those players that we saw at Liverpool against Man United last year. If things aren't going his way, he throws a hissy fit. And surely that kind of mercurial personality you don't want trying to be the voice of reason if things are all kicking off.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned before, I think if Man U were to make a concrete offer to Harry Kane, they would have kept the captaincy free. Because
they couldn't sign him and put him straight in as captain, could they? He's not that. You can't do that, can you? That would upset the apple cart.
Yeah, but if the amount of money they'd be paying for him, the amount of money he'd be on England captain as well, I think there'd be enough in there where they'd be like, okay, I guess, yeah.
Big news about Harry Kane, by the way, this week. He did very well on Hot Ones. He was struggling with the first wing, but he made it all the way through. And fair play to him. As an English man who obviously doesn't have a very good palate, because none of us do over here, do we? All of our food is crap, isn't it, America? All of it's rubbish. The fact he made it through all the way and didn't even cry too much is a testament to king and country.
Yeah, and this is a man who thinks that Harry Kane's a man who thinks that mayonnaise is spicy as well. So yeah.
But Bruno Fernandes, just as a leader, I'm just trying to put myself in the shoes of a Manchester United player. I can't follow that man as a leader of my football team because he spends that much time on the floor but never gets injured. He's a fraud and a shyster.
Who else? Rashford, maybe, or
give it to Casemiro. Give it to Eriksen, Varane, Luke Shaw.
Eriksen's there.
Give it to Onana. Why not? Why not? Anyway, more Manchester United news, because this week they've also signed Johnny Evans, and Eric Ten Hag has explained why the bloody hell they've signed a 35-year-old on a short-term deal that runs out before the Premier League season even gets going. Obviously, Evans spent 11 years on the books at Manchester United, previously played 198 games between 2004 and 2015. Eric Ten Hag has been speaking to MUTV, and he said he came to train with us to work on his fitness, and when I said, yeah, that's what Usher says, isn't it? And when I said, yeah. Not all the players are in. Internationals are out, still having their break. So I thought it was a good idea to help each other out. Johnny can work on his fitness and he can help us out. So he's just there to fill the numbers in until the internationals come back, and he'll be booted out to find a new club.
Yeah, because we were theorising it's slightly saves his bushes, doesn't it, than bringing him in as trialist or whatever. But fine. Man U, an odd team. They can spend their money however they like. If that even means making Johnny Evans a part of the squad again for, I don't know, that pre-season tour, then fair play to them.
I think
up the Johnny Evans.
Up the Johnny Evans. Well, he's a Mackham, isn't he? He's a Mac. He started his career at Sunderland, didn't he? Well, he had a loan at Sunderland at the start of his career. Mackham, dirty Mackham bastard. But he was part of the team that lost to Wrexham. Part of the young gaggle of youths, the Chavas that represented Manchester United today. Wasn't he, Johnny Evans? He lost to Wrexham 3-1. So I don't know if it's going well or not. I assume it's good. He seems like a nice guy. I don't know what I'm talking about now. Just rambling. Anyway, Riyad Mahrez, Al Ahly have agreed a fee for the Manchester City winger. Another one bites the dust. Mahrez is set to go to Saudi Arabia for £45 million a year. On the table from Al Ahly. He's set to join the team that has Edouard Mendy of Chelsea and Roberto Firmino. Oh, Bobby Firmino from Liverpool. Oh, yeah, Bobby.
Mahrez as well. I mean, I was going to say, I'm surprised City let him go because he was one of those players that, whether he started, whether he's an impact sub, whatever, he's class. He's absolutely class. Have City made any major incomings this season?
Not in terms of Kovacic, they've signed.
Yeah.
There's another midfielder I've forgotten. Let me just talk amongst yourself there, Jargons, while I look at their transfer business.
Yeah, because everything this week has been saying that they're still trying to go in for Gvardiol for about 100 million.
Yeah.
But obviously, like you said, Kovacic has come in and maybe some others. Of course, I can't remember. You know me.
It's just it's just Kovacic. Kovacic is the only one so far. They've got back Issa Kabore from Luton, end of loan. Yangel Herrera had his loan at Girona end at the end of last season. And Nathaniel Bustos came back from Talares in Argentina. That's it. That's their only incomings this summer, along with Kovacic.
And how many outgoings have they had?
Gundogan, Mendy, obviously. That's it. And sorry,
as well.
25-year-old Yangel Herrera has gone to Girona on a permanent deal now for $5 million.
So, in terms of clearing like wages off the books and getting a bit of money for some of the older guard, they've done good business so far. But I was going to say I'll wait and see what they invest in. But City, they've already got an embarrassment of riches all over the pitch, on the bench, in the cafeteria. They've got the world's best chef there. They've got a Michelin-starred cafeteria. You should see the kit man. He's gorgeous. He scrubs them undies.
I tell you what, their kit man, in all seriousness, has the shiniest head in all of football. It's lovely. He's the little fella who always has to strip down to his underwear and do a slide across the dressing room floor whenever they win a trophy. Have you noticed this?
No.
He's a little hobbit of a man. I don't know why I call him a little hobbit of a man. I bet he's a lovely fella. He seems like a lovely fella. I'm sure it's the kit man, little bald fella, ginger beard, stubble-ish. He has to do it. He goes down to his little Y fronts and then does a slide across the floor every time they win a trophy.
Yeah, well, every time City win a trophy, I usually switch off my TV in disgust and have a sulk for about 10 days. That's probably why I've never seen him.
You always see him on the social medias afterwards. But you would assume that Manchester City have got 7 replacements lined up for Riyad Mahrez, because even still, last season, I assume he would have played more games than he missed. Oh, he definitely played more games than he missed. But you know what I'm trying to say? He was still a very important player for them last season.
Yeah. But, like you said, another one bites the dust.
Another one bites the dust, indeed. Obviously, Lionel Messi's made some news this week. We'll speak about that at length at the size of his dick. I've started reading the sentence there as I was talking. We'll talk about it more later in the podcast, but the news relating to Lionel Messi has to be the size of his dick, because someone took a photograph as he was slotting away that free kick after stoppage time had ended, as Inter Miami were playing the other night, and the freeze frame includes it's an outstanding outline of a ginormous winky. So he really does have it all.
Well, it's worth remembering though, he's a very wee man, so perhaps he's just got an average size winky and just, but because of his stature, it looks bigger. Who knows? But when he was a child at Barcelona, oh no, I'm not going to say that.
What on earth was that? Where was that going? I was
going to say something about the growth injections.
This isn't the BBC. Let's move on. Goodness me.
The Hold and Give podcast, where we fly by the seat of our pants for 10 weeks on the bounce.
When I started doing this podcast, did it when we talk about Lionel Messi's dick, never mind what it was like when he was a wee boy? Bloody hell, Jarkins.
Yeah, come on, you put words in my mouth there.
Hey! I haven't. Now, I feel terrible for the way I've put together this new segment, because there was two sad deaths this week in the world of football. There was former Sheffield Wednesday and Nottingham Forest Chris Bart-Williams former Sheffield Wednesday and Nottingham Forest midfielder Chris Bart-Williams passed away at the age of 49 on the 24th of July. Before his death, Bart-Williams had been living in the USA, where he ran a football training and recruitment courses for American colleges, which is nice to see, doing some good there. He obviously played as well as for Wednesday and Forest, Charlton and Ipswich. I just remember him as a leggy centre midfielder, just one of those ones who was in the Premier League for ages.
Yeah, most of my memories of him come from Panini sticker albums. You always seem to get a Chris Bart-Williams in every other pack. 49, no age, as they say.
Yeah, no age. And as well, there was Trevor Francis, who was British football's first £1 million player. He passed away this week at the age of 69. He was capped 52 times by England, and obviously famously scored Nottingham Forest's winning goal against Malmo in the 1979 European Cup final, where I'm sure he was signed in the February of 1979, didn't play in the semi-final of the quarter-final of the semi-final, and then rocked up in the final and got the winner. I'm sure that's the way it happened.
It's the boyhood dream, that, isn't it?
It is, yeah. He spent 9 years at Birmingham City after graduating their academy before he went to Nottingham Forest, who of course won the European Cup in 1980 as well as 79. He also played for Manchester City, Sampdoria, Atlanta, Rangers, Queen's Park Rangers and Sheffield Wednesday during a playing career that spanned 24 years. And he had 2 loan spells at the Detroit Express, yielding 36 goals in the now defunct North American Soccer League, NASL.
He was a Wednesday manager when Chris Bart-Williams played there as well.
Yeah, I guess most people of our age will learn from Sky Sports, just getting involved in the football commentary and whatnot. He just seemed like a nice fella, didn't he? Just in terms of him being a pundit, wasn't ever overtly offensive. Like, yeah, what's his face? I've forgotten his name now. Former Everton left back. I've banished him from my mind when the football season's not on. Andy, what's his face? Oh, I've gone blank now.
Hinchcliffe.
Andy Hinchcliffe. Oh, yeah. Kevin De Bruyne should have just passed it in the net with his eyes closed. Who are you to say that, Andy Hinchcliffe?
Yeah, like you said, he seemed like alright, Trevor Francis, and Britain's first £1 million player. Every time a transfer record was broken, he was always brought up in that. So his legacy was assured. And then you throw in the fact he was part of that unbelievable Nottingham Forest 2 times European champions squad. Yeah. Good legacy.
Made his mark, didn't he? Rest in peace to both of them. Right, we go from the sad news to the highlight of the week on the Hold and Give Football podcast. I'll kick us off this week, because I'm sure you did last week. Serena Williams, Kim Kardashian, LeBron James were watching on. David Beckham had a tear in his eye. Lionel Messi scored the match-winning goal on his Inter Miami debut to ensure the Florida-based team got past Cruz Azul in the League's Cup with 93 minutes and 48 seconds on the clock, even though there was only 3 minutes added on. There he was, Lionel. He came on after 57 minutes in front of a sellout DRV PNK Stadium and its temporary terraces. Now, I learned this thanks to Ellis Patton on the Away Days channel, Up the Away Days, big fan. And he was there. He got there via a sponsor for his video, I think. And the box at this stadium is at pitch level. So it's like there's a balcony, basically, on pitch level. You're on the grass, and that's where your box is. To his left, Ellis Patton's left, was Messi's family. So he's having a bit of a chat on with Messi's brother. Messi's kids are there. And to his right, he's got Kim Kardashian, LeBron James, and all these players like that. All these players? Obviously, Kim Kardashian's lovely in the NBA, isn't she? All these famous celebrities like that. And then he's sitting there watching the game as he does, because he's a big Messi fan, as we all are. But I think he's a step above just being a fan. I think it's an obsession with Ellis. And he's just sitting there watching the free kick, and he goes, he can't put it in. He's just filming himself for a bit of a YouTubey reaction video. And just the shock on his face when it flies in the top bins is absolutely fantastic. On top of that wonderfulness as well, Lionel Messi set a record during this match. His debut match was viewed, or the most watched American football match, soccer match, in USA television history, with approximately 12.5 million viewers. And he followed this up this week to continue the highlight by scoring twice and assisting once on his first start for Inter Miami in a 4-0 win over Atlanta United. He was scoring twice in the opening 22 minutes before setting up teammate Robert Taylor in the second half. And I saw this week, I think it was during the Cruz Azul game, that former Newcastle fullback DeAndre Yedlin was his captain. Imagine that.
Before about how the United players take orders from Bruno Fernandes.
Hey, DeAndre has got some pace. That's one thing to be better at than Messi, is just running in a straight line. Meow. But I just watch it, because you're seeing the free kick get set up, you're thinking he can't bloody do it, can he? And I don't care who the goalkeeper was. I think Andre Onana would be struggling to save the free kick the way it went in, because apparently the goalkeeper was like, he worked in the back of a shop or something in his spare time or something like that. I read somewhere. But yeah, just the fact it was, past the minimum allowed stoppage time that they had on at the end of the game. They would need to win the game to get through to the next round of the cup. He scores the winner, the celebration, the big dick, it's all there.
Well, my highlight of the week also comes from Lionel Big Dick Messi, as he's now called. And this could have been a nomination for Twat of the Week as well, but it was highlighting the just where you just shake your head and laugh and also mouth the word arsehole. You're saying about the game the other day, Messi played into Miami, scored 2, opening 22 minutes, set up 1, was subbed off at the 78th minute, and the crowd absolutely flooded out of the stadium while the game is still going on. And it was a highlight in just that, you're aghast and you're just like, oh, this isn't football, but it was quite funny at the same time, wasn't it, really? But the amount of people, it was just like, right, Messi's gone now, come on, let's go tailgate or something. I quite like tailgating, it looks quite fun. But they were just like, let's all get off and get a branded hot dog and a shirt from the club store.
I tell you what, by the way, Ellis Patton buys a Inter Miami shirt before that Cruz Azul game. And I'm trying not to misremember this. I'm sure it cost him £140 for one shirt.
Whoa.
140, because they had like little gazebos set up around the ground instead of like the official club shop. 140 quid.
Did he get the pink one or the black one?
Pink, I believe.
It's a nice kit.
Yeah,
not 140 quid's worth of nice, but
I'll stick with my £9 one I had on the podcast last week off DHgate.
Up the DHgate.
Up the DHgate, indeed. But yeah, what Messi's going to bring to that league, I guess, with the help of Apple and the other company that was involved, I've forgotten now. Who was it?
Coca-Cola. I don't know.
Whoever it was.
Rolex.
He's going to bring a lot to that league, isn't he? He's all right, isn't he, that Lionel Messi?
He's not bad.
The highlights of the week have been Messi related. The twat of the week. I'll let you go first this week, Jarkins.
It's Bernardo Silva.
Just in case people are newcomers to the podcast, where's the hatred for Bernardo Silva come from?
He just hates Liverpool, treats us with no respect. So as a result, he could, save orphans from a burning building. I'd be like, but he's a disrespectful little gimp, isn't he? He's not really my twat of the week this week. My twat of the week this week is Nike, the American sportswear giant. So obviously the Women's World Cup is currently ongoing. You could argue it's the biggest Women's World Cup ever. There's more eyes on the competition. There's more eyes on the women's sport in general. England are going in. One of the favourites for the cup after the triumphs in, it was the Euros.
Yeah.
One of England's stand-up players, goalkeeper Mary Earps. England Man U #1, considered by many the best keeper in the women's game in the world, and Nike haven't made a women's goalkeeper top available for purchase. Earps herself has apparently offered to fund the shirts being made. Has apparently been shot down by Nike. The FA have done nothing to jump in. You can buy shirts for the women's team, but you just can't get the goalkeeper top. And Earps herself has put out a quote saying, there are people who have spent a tremendous amount of money on outfield shirts and then put Earps #1 on the back. That doesn't sit well with me either. Millie Bright spoke to me a couple of weeks ago and said, Mary, my niece is desperate to get your shirt. Where can I get it? I replied, you can't. It doesn't exist. I think that's a huge problem. I think a scary message is being sent to goalkeepers worldwide that they are not important. It's a hell of a faux pas. I've written extensively about Nike in the last few years. I do bits for a business magazine as well. And obviously after the Colin Kaepernick stuff and taking the knee, and Nike turned it into a very successful campaign, and they were trying to put themselves forward as a very progressive company and looking at social racial issues. They've supported LGBTQ plus athletes. They've supported trans athletes in sports such as skateboarding. And then for them to say here, it's just like, oh, can you make a women's goalkeeper shirt? And they're just like, not worth it at the end of the day, is it? It's going to cost us money. It's just like, oh, nice one, lads. You've undone all the good work you've done the last few years.
That's a massive, as being a kid and a football fan, a massive part of it is getting your shirt with your favourite player on the back of it, isn't it? And obviously,
yeah, exactly.
What Earps has done, like over the past few years, especially for England, there's going to be a fair queue for goalkeeper shirts with her name on the back, isn't there? It's I don't know. It's a banging shirt, to be fair, as well. I mean, that's the main issue. It would sell well because to find out. I mean, that blue England away shirt for the women's team. I was debating getting one. It looks lovely.
Yeah, they are nice. And I read an article about it as well. Someone said, take fans out of the equation. What about Mary Earps' family, who might want a shirt to wear when they're cheering her on? It's just, as we say every week, it's grubby, Ross. It's a bit grubby.
It is a bit grubby. It's a bit grubby and disgusting.
Yeah.
What else is disgusting?
You went quite scouse there.
Did I? Disgusting.
Yeah.
What else is disgusting is Erling Haaland being awarded a man of the match check for 1 million yen this week after Manchester City versus the Yokohama F. Marinos, I think you call their name. There's a little bit of Spanish in my voice for some reason. But Manchester City beat them 3-5 in the game. Erling got a couple of goals and he was given the man of the match award and also a check for 1 million yen. Because he needs it. He's struggling to put bits together at the minute. It's a cost of living crisis and whatnot. So let's give him 1 million yen as well.
You keep going. I'm going to get up my
Is this because you want to know how much it is in pounds sterling? Because I've got it right in front of me right now.
Have you got it right there? Have you?
It is £5,508.
That's nothing to him anyway. But also, what's wrong with like a little crap trophy that he's never going to look at again and probably auction off?
Well, let me tell you, Jack Atkins, it's because that game was the J-League World Challenge 2023, powered by Docomo.
I love a crap pre-season tournament. They're amazing.
I don't even think it was a tournament, though. I think they've only had one game. Let me check Manchester City's fixture so far this summer. Man City results.
Pre-season, all rules go out the window. You can name a squad of 22 and have a different 11 every 30 minutes if you wanted. Even, I mean, that doesn't work mathematically, but you can have a one-match tournament in Japan. Who's to say you can't?
Me. It means so much. You know, when you type it on Google, like certain like Manchester City results, and you just bring up the table with all the results on. So it goes City 4, Real Madrid 0, Manchester City 2, Man United 1 in the FA Cup final, Man City 1, Inter Milan 0 in the Champions League final. Then the next result is Bayern 1, Manchester City 2 from today's game. So the Japanese challenge doesn't even exist in Google land, which tells you all you need to know, I guess. It's not even on the fixtures, for goodness sake, but there's Bayern Munich for any days. And the Atletico game they have in a few days' time, that's on there as well. It's disgusting. Not even counting he's getting a check for 1 million yen. It's a pre-season friendly, for goodness sake. Save the yen for when it matters.
Isn't it annoying that $5,000 to Erling Haaland, he's probably never even going to cash that check?
No.
If someone gave me a check for $5,000 right now, I'd be running down the street with me bum out. I'd be so happy.
I would sit in this chair and just flop on the floor like a fish. $5,000.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
It would be a nice thing anyway. Erling Haaland got that one. I don't know why it was a thing. It annoyed me when I saw the presentation taking place. I don't know why it even annoyed me, but it did. Just the fact he's there with 1 million on a bit of paper or a big bit of card next to him, it just annoyed me. Twat of the week goes to the Japanese league who put that game on. Super challenge my arse. Right, we go from Twat of the Week to everyone's favourite or second favourite segment after Clive FUCK's I Can See Clearly Now The Rain Is Gone, whatever it's going to be called in the future. What happened to that wonder kid?
And this is one that I think you especially will be excited by. It's Freddie Adu. Yeah, that was the Freddie Adu class in there. We spent $5,000 on that. That's why we want to check.
Thank you to the nation of Japan for the $5,000 in funding that air horn.
Yeah, for the Freddie Adu class in there. So obviously, football manager legend Freddie Adu. I think he was voted the greatest football manager legend of all time. Wasn't
football manager 2005, Freddie Adu, DC United. If you signed him, it was the keys to the kingdom.
Yeah. But in real life, they called him the next Pele. They were hoping he was going to be the proper first ever US soccer superstar. You could take your Landon Donovan, you could take your Casey Keller and shove him up your ass. It was all going to be Freddie Adu. And as we've come to find out with what happened to that wonderkind, on reflection, it's a very sad segment of the podcast, isn't it? So
yeah.
Get ready for the sad tale of Freddie Adu's career. Are you ready, Ross?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So he was Ghanaian born, moved to the USA when he was 8. He was quite simply a youth footballing prodigy. 2004, at just 14 years old, he was signed by MLS side DC United as their number 1 overall draft pick and scored 5 times in his debut season as a 14-year-old boy, which is...
It's unbelievable is what it is.
Yeah. You were talking about having pubes and that before. So when you were 14, you were admiring your pubes while Freddie Adu was banging them in for DC United.
Exactly, that's the context we need. I was sat there admiring my pubes in Pegswood, and there was Freddie Adu twatting them in.
So, he had trials with Man U at 16, impressed Alex Ferguson, but Fergie was just like, we'll let him return to the MLS. When he turns 18, we'll have another look at it. 3 seasons, 11 goals and 82 apps. He was signed by Real Salt Lake, scoring 1 in 11 before being signed by Benfica in 2007 for about $2 million after an impressive Under-20s World Cup where he was the US captain. And he's still, how old is he at this point? 2007. So he's 16, 17 years old. He's signed for Benfica and you're thinking, okay, let's see how he does. And then it just gets really sad. 1 in 14 for Benfica, which again, he's a boy, and you're thinking that's not bad.
New country as well. Imagine moving Imagine moving 2 hours away from home. Never mind a new country.
Yeah,
at that age.
I mean, you'd be terrified, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And then he's just loaned a lot. He had a season at Monaco where he was 0 and 9, a season at Aris in Greece where he's 2 and 12, a season in Belenenses in Portugal, 0 in 4, a season at Kayseri Rizespor, which he was in the Turkish second division, which was 3 and 11. Like we've said with previous wunderkinds, the thing that seems to hamper them is not only big expectations like calling them the next Pele, it's just not letting them settle and learn, because these are the most important years of their career where they need to be playing regular football. You hear it from Premier League teams all the time when you've got youth players. It's like they need to be sent out on loan so they can actually play rather than just watching the superstars. So after all those loans, Benfica sold him in 2011, now 22 years old. He returned to the MLS with Philadelphia Union, scored 10 and 39 appearances in a 2-season spell. Not bad. 22-year-old. Yeah. And then he went to Bahia in Brazil in 2013 with Clayberson went in the opposite direction on loan. Oh, Jesus Christ. So after just 7 months in Brazil and 0 and 4, he was released. Went on a number of trials around Europe. He trained with Blackpool. He trained with Starbake in Norway and AZ Alkmaar, and then signed with Serbian side FK Jagodina in July 2014, and then was released a few months later. So we're getting to March 2015. He's now age 25. This is the next Pele, don't forget.
Yeah.
And he went to Finnish side Cups, KUPS. Never heard of them before. But had his contract terminated in July just so he could come back to the MLS with the Tampa Bay Rowdies. And this is his 12th pro club in 11 years. He scored 0 in 13. He's not an out-and-out striker at this point. He's more of a kind of midfield, like an attacking midfielder. He was released at the end of 2016 season, spent all of 2017 on trial at various clubs, and then in 2018 he was signed to the Las Vegas Lights after a trial, scored 1 in 14 and was released again. He then went on to coach soccer in Maryland, not Maryland, for a few years. And then in 2021, he signed with Swedish third division side Österlen FF, but was released after a month.
That's the one that Graham Potter used to manage, wasn't it? Österlens, I don't know.
Yeah, Swedish third division though, and they released him after a month. They said he wasn't physically or mentally fit enough to be competitive. And he himself, Freddie Adu himself, claims differently. Says there was turmoil behind the scenes and a bit of a power struggle that facilitated his exit. But 31 goals and 227 appearances.
It's a shame, isn't it? Because I always thought with Freddie Adu, Football Manager set him up for failure, because obviously they made him a thing before he was even a thing. So everyone thinks he's a thing. Then he didn't turn out to be a thing. Everyone was like, "Why is he not a thing?" It's got nothing to do with him, really, has it? Just some nerd in London.
Exactly. Yeah, it was nothing that he could do with that. It's like you said, he's managed to have a career in football. We're saying he was training there. He was, going here, there, and everywhere. But it's just rubbish at the end of the day, isn't it? Where does he go from here?
I don't know. He's 34 now, isn't he? So it's a...
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's going to peter out, isn't it? It's a shame, as I say. I think it's harsh from Football Manager, but they've got, I guess, make hooks in a game, haven't they? Try and get people's teeth into the game. So creating these wonder kids out of nowhere. I mean, I guess there's some substance to it, because he was playing for DC United at that age. And he did get the move to Benfica. Hopefully not off the back of Football Manager. Of it was based on some sort of scouting and talent, whatnot. So yeah, it is a shame to see, though.
Yeah, it's as I was writing this one, I was just like, oh, this is really sad, because with other ones it was like injury that had hampered things, but with this one it was just moved around too much and not able to actually settle and work on his craft. And I was just like, it's nice to have a very sad segment in this podcast every other week. So
yes, we'll see you in 2 weeks for some more sadness.
Yeah, we'll get sadder than Freddie Adu. Come have a big cry.
That was dickish of me to play that sound effect at that moment of time, wasn't it? Anyway, Freddie Adu there, a case of what might have been, and a case of Football Manager never treat it like real life, I guess, which I think a lot of us are guilty of. I know I certainly was at one point. I was gagging for Sebastian Freebock to come along after Football Manager 2007. He was a regen, not even a real boy, and I was like, he's going to come and sign for Newcastle one day. He never did, not even real.
Is that the real reason why you bought that nice tie and cufflink set? Because you wear a suit when you play Football Manager? Are you one of them?
I'll come clean, Jack Atkins. I'll come clean. University, got on a Football Manager a bit too much. Nearly cost me my degree, basically. Did my dissertation in 1 week because of Football Manager. That's how balls deep I was in the game. I haven't bought it since leaving uni, because if I did buy it, I would not have a life. And I was one of those sad people who, when I had a big European away game in Russia in winter, and it was winter over here, I would go and sit in the back garden on my laptop and play for the full authentic cold of Russia, of Moscow and places like that. And obviously on a cup final day, yes, the suit would get dusted down out the wardrobe and put on for the duration of the game and the game only.
You say for the authentic experience. I don't think it's an authentic experience if you're, having a can on the sidelines, though.
You got to get that immersive experience, though. You got to feel what it's like to be away at Spartak Moscow in December. I don't know why I said Moscow like an American there. I watch too much wrestling. Moscow!
Yeah, I can imagine you on the sidelines for Newcastle United, there over in Russia, freezing your jabs off with a can of, I don't know, Heineken and a kebab. Just being like, come on, lads.
Up the Football Manager. But yeah, I'm going to come clean. I'm hoping there's people listening to this podcast who did the same thing, because if there wasn't, that's a bit awkward now for me, because they're going to think less of me. But
you've gone up in people's estimations, you never know.
I had a flat full of people who did the same thing, so I'm justified in my actions. Anyway, on to the Roberto mailbagio. It's ross@holdinggive.com. If you want to get in contact, I need to say once again, it's getting busier each and every week, so apologies if I don't get your email. We're going to try and keep it to 3, just for the length of the podcast, so keep trying, and it'll eventually happen. That's what my mum used to say. Hello, Harry, Hold, and Gary Give. Which one do you want to be, Harry or Gary?
I'd like to be Gary, please.
Up the Harry. I'm a huge football fan from Newcastle, Australia, and I'm faced a bit of a dilemma. My local team in the top flight of Australian football, the A-League, are potentially not going to be a thing soon. Newcastle Jets FC have been without an owner for a while, and it doesn't look like anyone is going to buy us at this point. The A-League is a relatively small league with 12 teams, and in my 15 years of support, I have a reason to hate all 11 other teams. So my question to you is, who do I support if the Jets fold, and how would I even go about finding a new team? Bonus question. If Liverpool and Newcastle... Well, we'll deal with first bit first. Who should Lockie from Newcastle, Australia, go and support?
I mean, what a horrible situation.
I know.
if he said there that hates pretty much every other team in the league. The only thing I'd think is pick whoever your main rival, whoever Newcastle Jets main rivals are, and then pick the team that hates them equally as much as Newcastle does.
Yeah.
So you can still feel like you've got that rivalry, kind of like basing your decisions on an element of Schadenfreude maybe. But it's horrible situation.
It is a horrible situation. Obviously, the obvious answer is the next most local team. If you want to be like true to football roots and whatnot, and true supportership, if you want to brand it like that. But I think Atkins has nailed it on the head there. One that's got a similar hatred for the other teams, I think, is a justifiable reason. Because there needs to be a justifiable reason. You can't just go and pick the best team. You can't be an arsehole like that. It needs to be a justifiable reason as to why you're supporting this team. If there's a favourite player, I'll accept that one in this situation. Because no one's thinking about their football team going out of business and not being a thing, are they? So if there's a favourite player from another team, it's an acceptable reason for me in this situation.
Yeah, I'll go with that. Yeah.
Any more? Any favourite kit? I like blue.
Best stadium scran.
Oh, now we're getting deep. That's what we're talking about. Do you follow Footy Scran on Twitter?
I see highlights, yes. I do see highlights.
And lowlights as well. Some football teams should be put in jail for what they charge for paltry amounts of food. Greetings, chaps. There was a part 2 of that mailbag from Lockie in Newcastle. Bonus question. If Liverpool and Newcastle folded in England, who would you boys support? Oh. It's a tough question to answer off the top of the head.
In all reality, at my age, I'd probably just drop out altogether.
Shut up, man. You gotta stay. You gotta pick another English side. You got Tranmere Rovers down the road.
Yeah, it would be Tranmere. I think it'd be Tranmere, and even getting the odd ticket to Goodison. I think it'd just have to be just to watch football. I've been to plenty of Everton games in my life because, like I said before, my brother and my nephew are Everton fans. I was contemplating going to Everton versus Tranmere the other day because they had a spare ticket, but I got tattooed instead, and that was a better use of my time. Yeah, probably Tranmere. The Super White Army, which is not a problematic name at all.
I just remember in last week's podcast when I was speaking about Real Madrid and their white history. Los Blancos, they're called, for goodness sake, they're playing white. It's a tough one for me because I'm a bit of a lonely island up in the northeast of England in terms of professional football teams. I mean, you got your Blythe Spartans, I've got no affiliations to them. Not even professional, they're semi-pro. Ashington, where the Milburns are from, the Charltons, are from as well. Obviously, they're cousins. Morpeth Town would be my first pick, but that's maybe too low down. Because you got, I think, to answer this question properly, we want to pick a professional outfit. So in terms of professional football team, I've got no affiliation to anybody else in England, at least.
You're forgetting one team that's relatively near.
Who?
Hep the Burr.
Hep the better. I couldn't do that. Although it probably would be it's the closest one, and I like saying Hep the better. So maybe it is just that's my tie into Middlesbrough. And my neighbours 2 doors down, they were Middlesbrough season ticket holders when I was growing up. So Bob and Barbara. Barbara's now dead.
Bob Mortimer.
Not Bob Mortimer, no. I don't know what their surname was. I shouldn't say it on here. Rest in peace, Barbara. Bob's still with us, I think. I can't remember. Not been home for a while. Might be gone. I don't know. Always drove a Citroen Picasso, though. When a new Citroen Picasso came out, they went and got one, which I thought was very interesting. Yeah, up the Citroen Picassos. So I guess we worked out, because when I was at uni, I had a full-on, it was nearly an obsession with Sean Dyche. I really enjoyed listening to Burnley Sean Dyche speak about football. So if he was still at Burnley and still playing football at turf, I would probably go and support Burnley. But he's now gone. He's now at the Ev, and I've got no affiliation to Everton whatsoever. So it probably would be Middlesbrough, I guess. If push came to shove and I couldn't support just Morpeth Town, I'd say Middlesbrough. Hep the better.
At the end of the day, it's not Sunderland, is it?
And I couldn't support Sunderland. And I guess the good times are coming back with Michael Carrick. Imagine being, because it must have been fun being a Middlesbrough fan in the 90s. Some of the players that came over. Your guy with a barnet. Edison, was it? I've forgotten his name. Emerson. Centre midfielder.
Emerson.
Juninho, obviously. I know you called him Fabrizio Romano in my head there, but Ravanelli is what I was on about. Fabrizio Romano was not playing for Middlesbrough in the 1990s.
Do you remember Fabrizio Romano with his, peroxide hair and pulling his shirt over his head?
He's speaking about peroxide hair there. Abel Xavier, I remember playing for them. Oh, not in the 90s though, but a great time nonetheless. So yeah, I'll guess Middlesbrough. They're inoffensive, aren't they, Middlesbrough? They're never really there. Yeah, they're fine. They're fine. They're never in Yorkshire anyway. It's not even the northeast of England there. Greetings, chaps. It's a short and sweet one from me. When is the Hold and Give FPL League happening? And that's from Ollie, a Shrewsbury Town fan. You know the one that has, or the team, sorry, that has the occasional FA Cup runs? Yes, I do. I remember the game against Everton back in, this is going to be a pluck from the arse here, 2004? 5? 4? 5? Are you going to do FPL this season, Jargons, while I look at the Shrewsbury versus Everton result?
Oh, I don't know. I've been playing in our work league for the last 2 years, and it was the first time I've played FPL in about a good decade. Dusted off my old team, Slick McCarthy, just because I love Mick McCarthy. And the Slicksters play in pink and gold, and I usually do pretty badly. It's usually myself and Aidan Gibbons fighting above the relegation spots. I'll play. There was controversy at the beginning of this last season because Dan Heppel was like, right, £5 in. I was like, no, don't be stupid. He was like, I'm putting a £5 in, and I think he didn't even get his money back. I was like, why have you done that? Because Statman Joel Holland he's very good at it.
Well, no, it's not fair, Janks, because there's people like Joel in the same FPL league as us two who like listen to podcasts and watch YouTube videos. That they're balls deep in the entire process, and it's not fair to have them in the same league as just common Garys and Harrys like you and I.
Exactly, we play off heart, and we just think, what's the best 11 on paper? We're not thinking, who's the diamond in the rough from, I don't know, Reading or whoever's in there. And like you were saying then, Joel gets fully on board, and there's some people in our league, I'm not going to name names, who don't really know much about football, but also buy into what Joel does and absolutely smoke it. So it's a baseless game. But if there were to be a hold and give league, I would be involved. Just to
not break the news, just to reveal when that Everton versus Shrewsbury game took place. It was 2003. January the 4th, 2003, at Gay Meadow, 7,800 people were there. Shrewsbury Town 2, Everton 1. Do you know the Everton team on the day?
Go on.
Richard Wright in goal. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to work it. It's all in a weird order. Rooney was playing or started. Thomas Gravison started. Unsworth, Weir, Carsley, Naismith, Stubbs. Scott Gemmell got a run out. Thomas Radzinski got a run out. Yeah. It was a full-strength team, and they got beat in the FA Cup. I'm trying to see if I recognise any Shrewsbury Town players' names, and I don't. There's an A. Smith, but Ian Wone, that'll be Sean Dyche. It's an I. Wone. I need to check this out.
It's got to be Ian.
It's got to be Ian. Yeah, Shrewsbury Town. He's there. 2002, 2003, 50 appearances, 7 goals. That's Sean Dyche's assistant manager there. Woney! Interesting, though, they've got an S. Jagielka on the bench. Any relation, do you reckon? Let us know. Who sent the email in. Ollie, let us know if S. Jagielka is related to P. Jagielka. So there will be a Hold and Give FPL League happening. Keep your eyes peeled on the social medias for the code and all that sort of stuff. I basically just need to pull my finger out my arse. And I've got a week off work now, so I'll do it during that space of time. So it'll be on the Twitter machine, it might be on the gram. There's too many social media platforms to keep going. That's what I'm finding. On top of the rest of the ones as well.
I'm just down to Instagram now. When Twitter started going belly up, I was like, no more social media, and everyone else went, no, more social media. I was like, no. I had a look at Threads, and I hate it. Someone described it as LinkedIn for unemployed people. It's just people just being like. It's just all the accounts that I'd blocked on Twitter. Yeah, I blocked John Cena on Twitter. I'm not into that kind of, the best you to be is the you that's you. To be you to you. I'm just like, oh, shut up.
The thing I don't like about Threads is the fact on your homepage, you can't just like look at the people you follow. It's just everybody. I'm not interested in Doja Cat and her goings on. I'm not interested.
Well, I figured out what the problem with it is that with all social media platforms we've experienced in the past, we've gotten in there before the brands have and built it up. But because this is a brand new one coming straight from Facebook and Instagram, straight away it's like, oh, here's Kodak saying, oh, isn't it weird that we're on Threads? Hey there, Sainsbury's. I'm just like, this is crap. So, yeah, I'm not a fan.
Yeah, on to the last question of the mailbag. Hi Ross, thanks for cutting my question last week. I've been guilt-tripped into this one, Jack Atkins, but as I say, the mailbag is getting busier week on week, so it will be harder to keep it to a concise 3, so I do apologize. I had a weird claw thing go, a concise 3. So it will be hard to... it will be harder to get your question read out because it is getting busier, but I do apologise for that. But he says, I'll try once more. What's your personal standout goal in your club/country's history? For me as an Arsenal fan, it would be Will Todd's goal at Old Trafford to win us the league. Off Barthez, Will Todd, under Bartez's body. It's a goal there. This is my commentary on it, not Martin Tyler's. What's yours? All the best, Jack, and then in brackets, not Atkins.
What a handsome man Jack must be.
So what's your, not necessarily your favourite goal or just, the best goal he's ever seen scored. What's your standout goal, which I guess could be for a myriad of reasons?
I think it's the obvious answer, but it's Steven Gerrard against Olympiacos in the Champions League. Final group game, Champions League 2004. We were 3 points behind Olympiacos, needed to win by 2 goals to go through. Score is 2-1, and then Gerrard, with an absolute thunder bastard, as we like to say, made it 3-1. Andy Gray absolutely losing his mind in the commentary booth. And it's the sliding doors moment. If that doesn't go in, we might not win the match. And obviously, we won the match. We went through to the next round and somehow beat one of the greatest AC Milan sides of all time in the final. I was angry last year because there was a fraud of a journalist in the wrestling space who has been cancelled, who I couldn't stand from day one, who claimed to be a Liverpool fan.
Is that the one who shags pizzas? Yeah.
Whoa, couldn't stand him from day one. People just used to say his name in the office and watch me go mad about him.
Bad guy.
It was it Thiago's goal in the Champions League last year or Bobby Firmino's? There was a really good goal and he was saying that's the best goal in Champions League history. And I was like, that's not even the best Liverpool goal in Champions League history, you stupid little fraud of a man. Because it's Olympiacos. It's Olympiacos. But
tell us how you really feel.
I'm in a mood today. Let's peel the curtain back. I had a McDonald's last night. I ate too much. I had a vanilla milkshake, and this morning my stomach was doing cartwheels. So I started on the right foot there. Ross, what about yourself? Any good goals that you like?
You know what you should have done to get yourself back on track was purchase another vanilla milkshake, but also purchase a double shot of espresso from Muck Cafe and put them in the same thing and mix them together to produce the Ross, as I've christened it. Even though I watched a guy on Instagram Reels do it in lockdown, and I've been waiting 3 years ever since, but I tried it a few weeks ago and it was unbelievable.
The thing was, though, I was having this at 7 o'clock. If I would have had a double espresso, I'd still be awake now from yesterday.
No, but I mean, like, have it this morning. You have McDonald's last night.
Oh, okay.
This is your hangover cure. Just get another milkshake in with a double shot of espresso.
Well, that sounds nice, actually, yeah.
It's worth a try. But you need a spoon. You need to mix it together. My standout goal from Newcastle's history is a goal, because as I've said a few times, my first fully conscious, I'm aware of what's going on week to week, and I can remember being aware, was the 01-02 season for Newcastle when we finished 4th under Bobby Robson. And there was a game away at Leeds in that game, because I had you remember the VHS season review things used to get, it was called The Return of the Entertainers, because obviously Kevin Keegan's side had been dismantled by an arsehole called Kenny Dalglish, and then Bobby Robson was mopping up that mess in 2001 and bringing the entertaining football back to St James's Park. He was an arsehole, Kenny Dalglish. He was.
Don't you dare say another bad word about Sir Kenneth Matheson Dalglish.
Lovely arse. Filled out a pair of shorts like no other footballer ever did. But as a football manager, he ripped apart one of the greatest sides the Premier League's ever seen.
Yeah, but he also, player manager, one of the greatest sides of the Premier League. Well, the league has ever seen.
Exactly,
anyway.
Before football even existed. But yeah,
and then when football existed, he won the league with Blackburn. So.
Arsehole. But anyway, Newcastle were getting beat away at Leeds, and then it ended up being 3-4 away at Ellen Road around Christmas time. I think Newcastle either had just beaten Arsenal away at Highbury to go top of the league, or were just about to beat Arsenal away at Highbury to go top of the Premier League. And Solano's running through. It's 3-3, and he sort of just slides it across the goalkeeper, just sort of passes it in the far corner. I'm not sure how it went in. And then the commentator's like, and then Bobby Robson does a jig of delight on the touchline, and then remembers he's nearly 69. And for whatever reason, that one there, that was like prime peak Newcastle for me as a kid. Like my first season being fully invested. Geordie manager, if you want, even though he's from County Durham. And Nobby Solano, who loves playing his trumpet in my hometown of Morpeth on a fair few weekends these days. Him slotting it away in the dying embers of the game on a wintry day at Ellen Road.
Was it, as the kids say, was it limbs? Was it a limbs occasion?
It was a limbs occasion. Even for like, how old would I have been? 9-year-old me in the living room. Yeah. Or 10-year-old me watching the season review VHS in my room a million times. We've done it again. But yeah, that line, I'm sure it was Peter Drury on commentary. I might be wrong there, but I'm sure it was Peter Drury on commentary all the way back then. He was like, Bobby Robson does a jig of delight on the touchline and then remembers he's nearly 69. Because Bobby Robson started going like, ho, 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 on the touchline. It was a lovely moment. But yeah, I guess that's the standout goal for me. A close contender was, I remember because I had a season ticket during the bad times at Newcastle under Pardew and Mike Ashley, and Jonas Gutierrez scoring the goal to keep us up in the 14-15 season before we got relegated the next season. But his comeback from cancer and whatnot, and then he was clearly him and Ryan Taylor were like the only two players who gave a toss in the second half of that season, and to see him score the goal that kept us up against West Ham at home. Got Big Sam the sack as well in the same game, I think, just about beating them at the end of the season. So that would be my two standouts. Not necessarily the best ones and my favourite ones, but like the ones that stand out in my head. Yeah,
you've just like somehow unlocked a memory in this,
Jack Atkins tries to remember things. I've forgotten the jingle we said at the start now.
Like a prominent like football memory from my youth, and I think it's only because like we had like some crappy little TV that wasn't going to use anymore, so I was allowed it in my room when it was for a little bit. And watching Tino Asprilla destroy Barcelona.
You know who else destroyed Barcelona that night? Keith Gillespie's wing play that night, where he just kicked the ball 10 yards in front of him and ran after it like a little child, and then whipped in these Beckham-esque crosses. Oh, it's orgasmic, Jarkins.
But I just remember watching it on my bed, being like, oh, Barcelona, they're a good team. This Newcastle team must be very good indeed.
That was like half of Kenny Dalglish's work done in that team, I guess. We'll get well, maybe 3/4 of the work done, completely ripping aside Kevin Keegan's team and replacing them with grandfathers. Your Ian Rushes, your John Barneses of the world.
Yeah, they were definitely too old then. That was just too much loyalty from Kenny. But
it was, But there you go. Let us know in the comments down below and on other platforms as well if you want. What's your standout goal in your mind for your football team? Our final question this week comes from Trevor from Preston. Good afternoon, Demba Ba and Papi Cisse. I think I'll be Demba.
Ooh. I'll be Cisse, yeah.
You're a bit more unpredictable than me. What is your favourite slice of football-related clothing that you own? Hugs and kisses from the Great White North. Trevor from Preston. Cheers, Trevor. So what's your favourite slice of football-related clothing that you own?
I have a few bits and bobs. I'm not as much of a dirty shirty as you like to put it. And I look terrible in red, which is not a great look for a Liverpool fan. The two that come to mind is a few that I've bought in the last couple of years. I've got the 2014 France home kit, the really nice blue one with the white collar. Oh, lovely. It's
Matthew Valbuena. Oh,
yeah. I look like a fat Valbuena in it. Basically, it's a bit tight. And last year, one payday, I was sat in the Clooney. I was eating chili in the Clooney on a nice summer's day.
Chili on a summer's day.
Yeah, I'm unpredictable like that. Cisse, don't forget. I went on Depop and bought not a replica, the actual 96-97 cream Liverpool away shirt, and I think I've worn it twice. So they're the two that jumped into my mind.
But you can't wear it too often, though. You don't want to wash it too many times, do you? You want to keep that as pristine as it can be, considering its age.
Yeah, it was in pretty good nick as well. So yeah, that's one for the gram, as the kids say.
Up the gram. I don't know where to start with mine, because I'm a full on like collector like of Newcastle ones. Like there's not many Newcastle shirts since probably 1994 that I don't have in my vacuum sealed boxes at home, or bags at home. Sorry, but the standouts have got. There was a members shirt that was released in 2013 that was half black, half white, had a gold Newcastle badge, a gold Puma logo, and it was stunning. And it was ruined by I know you said F off, a massive blue dirty Wonga logo, but there was half black, half white. Looked unbelievable apart from this Wonga logo. They're rare as balls right now and they cost a lot of money, but I managed to get one because I was a member, obviously, with my season ticket back then. That's a prized possession. A Shearer testimonial shirt that I bought when I went. I've sized up thinking, I'm probably be a bigger boy when I'm older. Because I was only 2006. I would have been 15, 14, going on 15, and a thin boy then. Not so much now, but I got one of them as well. I don't know. Name any home shirt from like 94 onwards. I've got it in me at home because I'm weird like that. But I guess the prize one, I spent a lot of money because there was a period when I first started working at the old place where I was living at home, and my mum was being quite nice. I just finished uni and I didn't have to pay bills for the first couple of months that I had my new job. So I was like, I got my first pay pack, and I was like, I'm going for it. And I got a signed Messi. And I spent another 250 quid getting it framed, and it's at home. And it's got the certificate of authentication. It's got the picture. It was signed. It was bought from one of those. I'm not going to say where it was bought from, but one of those official like memorabilia shops where they do it all properly and whatnot. But it's the 14-15 Barcelona home kit, signed by Messi on the back of it, and that's the prize one.
That's going to be, you'd think, worth a couple of quid.
Yeah, when he dies, I'm laughing.
Yeah, you've never told me that one, because obviously yourself and, as we always mention, Aiden, I've done. You've told us all about the stuff you've sold. Like you've sold like Adidas training coats and stuff like that.
Yeah, I had like I've got a Depop shop. It's called What's it called? Is it football kits and other things? I'll link it on something soon so you can see what's up. Because there's a few shirts on there that I'm still selling. Just getting rid of the deadwood, you know.
Yeah,
but I sold it.
Didn't you buy a pair of signed boots?
At Vernon and Anita, because I had a weird obsession with Vernon and Anita when we played for Newcastle, and I can't remember where I bought them from now, but there was a pair available for 60 quid, and I went and bought them for 60 quid. They were like a proper like the Addy Zero, they're like yellow mid 2010 sort of stuff, and it was signed by Vern, and I sold them for the 60 quid I paid for them, thankfully on Depop. It might be someone watching the podcast today, but I was thinking if I just wiped off his signature, I probably could have got more. Because they were the proper boots. Now I saw them, I was like, I've missed out there, haven't I?
Yeah, because when there's obviously a website that deals in very expensive old kits, popped into Newcastle last year, and me, you, and Aiden jumped into your car and like drove on an extended lunch to go have a big look.
I was ready to spend some serious dollar that day, but they didn't have the options. There was a lot of shirts in there, but not many that you'd actually like want with, because they inflate their prices now to CFS. Because they've obviously built a big brand over the past 15 years, whatever it's been. So yeah, it was disappointing, that trip, wasn't it? But the big sale on Depop recently was the 1993 Umbro. It was nearly pristine, like a raincoat, which I'd never ever wear, and it was just taking up space in my wardrobe. And I was just like, I'll try and cash in here. 290 quid I managed to get for it, which was nice. Which was very nice. Consider, I don't know if I could have got more. Someone in the comments will go, you've been robbed there, Ross. But it was pristine condition, 1993, like Umbro, official Newcastle rain jacket thingy. But there's a Brucey bargain to be had there around the world of football memorabilia. Just got to find him, haven't you?
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's mad how much it's taken. It's mad how much it's taken off though. Because I remember at uni, because I've obviously only got one parent, so I used to get the highest bracket of student loan, which I didn't need, but I would get it because I had one parent at home, and I would spend a large chunk of it on classic football shirts. Because way back between the years of 2011 and 2014, when I was at uni, it felt like football shirt collecting wasn't as much as a thing as it is today. So the deals you could get back then was unreal. So I used to fill my boots back then, but what you have to pay now is unreal.
It's the same with anything though, because I know in the world of fashion, there's a big kind of like football shirt and jeans movement going on. If anything hits the zeitgeist like that, the prices go through the roof. Like vintage band t-shirts go for an absolute arm and a leg. And I've got an original, I think, 1991 Pearl Jam t-shirt, and I've had it for years. It was a hand-me-down from my sister. And part of me's thinking, probably sell that for a couple of quid, but I kind of don't want to. But like you said, 10 years ago, probably would have got about 15 quid for it, and now get a chunk.
Yeah, I remember there was a mate I went on a stag do with recently who I sold a Newcastle, like the maroon Kevin Keegan, like it was just like a zip up, like just jacket thing, not waterproof or anything. And I sold him it for 25 quid, and I thought, I've done quite well there to get that. I could easily get 500 quid for that now. It's not even. Yeah. It's disgusting. You put us onto a replicas Twitter page, someone who was doing I won't name them in case they get taken down because it's
not the most legal thing. They were doing replicas of the old kind of Adidas training sweaters, and the Liverpool one that I'd always wanted, I think, 96, the green one, and the actual official one can go for 270 to 300 odd quid.
Yeah.
And I got a really nice replica for about 55 quid. Again, worn that once because it was a heat wave when I bought it.
They're really good though, aren't they?
They're really good, yeah. Owen Mawson got one as well, and I think Joel jumped in as well.
Joel got all three that was on offer on that certain site.
Oh, what a dangerous boy he is.
But there you go. Let us know what your favourite bit of football memorabilia is. But that's signed Messi. It's locked away in a certain place. I'm not going to say. I don't know why I'd even say that.
Especially now you know that he's got an absolute lad on him as well.
That's the thing that's going to take it to the next level. And it's time to end with the big question, which is a terrifying one. Will Kylian Mbappe's proposed transfer to Al Hilal signify or open the floodgates for more top-level players to go to Saudi Arabia? Or will they see the one-year move he's allegedly going to get, as we're still sat here on Wednesday the 26th of July, and think to themselves, I fancy a year, but that's all we'll have?
It's a business at the end of the day. Footballers, as much as they love playing for, the exhilaration, the sports side of it, the actual competitiveness of it, at the end of the day, they want to make money. I don't think Mbappe is going to change anyone's mind, to be honest. If he signs, I think they're still going to throw money around. If he doesn't sign, they're obviously going to still throw money around to try and get that big player. I think it's a case-by-case basis. And I think most players, if you basically handed them what equates to a blank check, I think a lot of them are going to have their head turned. If he does do a one-year move, I think that could be the game changer, though.
In terms of which way?
In terms of potentially prolonging your career, if you've got a year where you're just like training but not really playing to the top level, it could prolong your career. You could rest on your laurels and become crap. Who knows? And yeah, if someone offered you over $500 million for a year, it must be hard to say no to.
I think if he takes it, it's a floodgate opener. I think it gives the Saudi League license to go and attract anybody they want. I know this sort of situation's played into their hands a bit with PSG wanting to get Mbappe out this summer because his contract's up next summer, so they want to try and recoup some sort of fee. But I think it will lead to them potentially just going with transfer offers now, because obviously they've offered £250 million for Mbappe. You're thinking of Haaland, how much would he potentially cost? I imagine there's a release clause in that contract at some point. Could they activate that release clause? Would that release clause apply to them? Because we learned via Liverpool and Luis Suarez that sometimes release clauses can be turned down for some reason. But I think it's a proper scary floodgate opener. But as you say, making the career longer, because you've basically had a year or two's off, like not playing top-level games 2 or 3 times a week. I think that's going to be appealing for a lot of players as well as the money.
I haven't seen so far how the kit manufacturers are handling this, because obviously Ronaldo's a big Nike boot guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
I don't know if they've kind of fully jumped on board and are still pushing him around the world as Cristiano Ronaldo, star of the Saudi League, still wears our boots kind of thing. I don't know who makes the kits over there. I don't know anything, but I think if you've got the big sponsorships still jumping in 2-footed into this, I think that's going to hold a lot of sway as well.
Yeah, we need FIFA or someone to step in, so they've got a similar thing to what we've got over here with
Useless,
FFP.
though.
We need it. I know it's going to benefit them and make them more money, and they'll get a World Cup over there that'll have to pay. The Saudis will pay a lot more money for than, say, we would, for example. But it's got to be an even playing field somehow along the way. Because even though it's not over here, it is at the top level. In terms of what teams can, there's a line that teams can't go across. Manchester City might have run across that line. I hope they have, so we'll see what happens. But that's a different discussion for another day. But it's a terrifying time to be a European football fan, I guess.
Like you said before, I mean, we're a bit on our high horse being, supporters of rich teams in a rich league, but it's It's still ours,
It's
isn't it?
not fair. It's not fair. It's only fair when we're the richest ones taking all the best players from your league, watching around the world. But that's it for Hold and Give Football Podcast episode 10. We'll see you in 2 weeks for a regular instalment of the Hold and Give Football Podcast, because I'm away next week. And next week we have a placeholder where myself and Jack Atkins will go through our combined all-time Premier League 11. So you've still got something coming in your ears, much like Charlie FM.
And stay tuned for that, because somehow via Zoom, Ross and I punch each other in the face after some harsh disagreements.
It's true. We get along for a fair portion, but there's one at the end where blows are thrown. Right, that's it.
And I threw it in knowing that Ross would be like, no. So,
Teasy teasers. Right, we'll let it go away because we've now been recording for over 2 hours.
And I am starving.
I'm sorry for keeping you so long, Jack Atkins. Thank you for watching, everybody. We'll see you in 2 weeks in human form, and us from the past will see you next week. So that's how that'll work. Goodbye. I'm terrible at these sign-offs. I need to get better. Sorry, everybody.
It's all right. I'm terrible at the rest of the podcast, so it's fine.
Goodbye.
Up the hold and give.
Up the hold and give. Up the Lionel Messi's winky.